All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to The Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Twidwell, here inside the Starcade Media Studios with my guy, there ain't two of them, there's one
Singular.
of them. One guy, Trevor Twidwell.
Was good.
Episode 243 is in full swing, full motion. We're so happy to be here with you and for you to be here with us. Whether you were live streaming, podcasting, or YouTubing, whatever decision you made to join us today, you joined us. I want to thank you so much for taking time to be with us in this time, as we have so much to get to, guys. We have a jam-packed show. Dare I say, one of the most important episodes of this calendar year, in particular this football season. They got a big, big game, they being the Chiefs. That is their proper pronoun, they. The Chiefs are deciding to go up against a team that they had a Super Bowl matchup with a little bit over 7 months ago. Guys, we have the Chiefs and Eagles facing off this Monday night. Trevor and I are really excited about this one. I know the Chiefs, I know the Eagles circled their calendar on this one. Trevor and I definitely circled ours. I think everybody on the damn planet that watches football, that cares about sports even at a casual level, had this game circled on their calendars as well, because this is a very big matchup. Two of the best teams in the NFL that will be going up against each other. A revenge game, if you will. But, guys, we have so much more than just that, because Trevor and I are going to give you our predictions and our preview of that game. But we have to get to you guys in the Speak It segment, as we do every single week, which, by the way, if you've not already done it, get on YouTube, go to the Spoken Podcast, hit subscribe, hit the notification button, and get in those comments. Let us know what you guys are talking about, what you guys want to talk about, any questions, concerns, takes, topics that you guys have that you want Trevor and I to address or answer as ardently and as honestly as we possibly can. Get in there now, submit them now, and Trevor and I will get to them in a time, in a moment. We're going to also be handing out some L's like we do at the end of every single show, and trust me, there's some worthy ones this week. But we are very honest, very, very honored and privileged to have a guy that I actually just joined up with a couple of days ago on his own show. Our guy Mike Williams from All Chiefed Up is going to be joining us for the very first time. It's been long overdue. This is a guy that I like a lot. Him and his brother Steve. Trevor and I are brothers. They're brothers, so there's a cool common connection that we have. You know, I always look at it like this. You know, it's there's brother tandems in the Chiefs community, in sports community rather. There's the Spoken, with the Twidwell boys. There's Marcus Dash and Jason Dunn. They don't look alike, but they are brothers. The DNA test is still pending. Then you have the Steve Williams and Mike Williams, all chiefed up. And then you have the New Heights. So we're all just kind of like this community that you guys weren't really aware of brothers that do content creation. And, of course, we all work together. You guys just didn't know that. I'm letting the cat out of the bag now. But we all actually have something brewing together you guys just aren't aware of, and you'll find out soon enough. But back to reality. We have a lot to get to, like I said, guys, and I feel like we've wasted enough time. But, Trevor, I'm really excited about this episode. I'm really excited about today, because this feels like a game that – it feels like the game that's really going to kick off what we know this season to be, or what we believe it's going to be. I think the Chiefs have been sleepwalking a little bit in some regard, but I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, because, like I said, we're going to talk about all that. I want to talk – you guys know me. When I start these shows, I always like to – give you guys the real, man, and set the show up the way you deserve it to be set up, and that's with pure, unedited honesty. And as awesome as things have been, guys, because needless to say, this has been about as good of a bye week for the Chiefs as they could have ever asked for. The Bengals lost twice, literally since the last time the Chiefs have played. The Bills lost. Shocker, I'm sure. I think Josh Allen actually just threw another interception. Trevor, can you go check on that real quick? The Ravens lost. The Browns had no business losing that game. They split. They ended up going 1-1 this last week, but they lost a game that put the Chiefs in sole possession of the 1 seed. Yep. The Chargers lost. The Jaguars got smoked at home by the 49ers. I think it was 34-3. The Chiefs are now comfortably in the driver's seat, heading nonstop to the 1 seed with that coveted first-round bye and a strong shot at hosting an historic 6th consecutive conference championship game. And at that point, if in fact they do this, the NFL has to seriously consider changing the name for the AFC Championship to the Arrowhead Invitational. I mean, I know we talk about it all the time, we joke about it, and it's all on these shows, and everybody just kind of puts it out there in jest. I mean, if it's 6 consecutive, when it's 6 consecutive, it's got to be to a point where they really just give Patrick Mahomes the autonomy to decide what the name's going to be, and I think he would go with Arrowhead Invitational. But this bye week was great for the Chiefs because it also gave them a chance to heal defensively. We know this defense has been carrying the load for the majority of this season, so it gives them a chance to kind of just sit back and lick their wounds a little bit, get a little bit healthier, and get more of a spry in their step, and really work on their offense, which is the most important aspect to all of this with this bye week. And no one is more aware of that than Patrick Mahomes. But this last week, Patrick said something rather interesting at his press conference, and I want to read and then react to it, if you guys are cool with that. So, via Fox 4 sports anchor Harold Kuntz, friend of the show, Mahomes with the Mannings on Monday Night Football. I don't know if you guys watched that, listened to it. There's a lot of really good stuff that he put on that. He was predicting plays from the Broncos. In fact, he predicted all 3 plays on that end zone drive that Russell Wilson threw that beautiful ball to Cortland Sutton. He made that great catch. He predicted those plays to the T. Patrick talked about his underwear and how he wears the same underwear in every single game he's ever played in as a Chief. Bit strange, but you know what? We all got superstitions. I'm a former athlete. Trevor's a former athlete. We all have things that get us in our zone, and I guess that's Patrick's way of doing that. But something else that was mentioned during the Manning cast with Patrick on there, he said when they were talking about the offense, because obviously that's the hot topic, and anywhere he goes, quote, I think if this offense was playing as well as the defense is playing, then no one would have anything to say, end quote. He then later added, quote, I think we'll be all right on offense with Andy Reid because he is the coach, end quote. We've listened to a lot of people talk about this offense. We've talked about this offense, and I know without a shadow of a doubt that the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, every single entity in that building hears what is being said from the national level all the way to this very show. I do know that. That's not a brag. That's not us tooting our horn. We know that people pay attention in that building. And I can't help but listen to these comments and think that Patrick's making an absolute statement of defense for his offense. And I get it. He's the leader of this offense. He wants everybody to believe that this offense is going to be fine, even when I believe that Patrick Mahomes knows deep down they got some real problems. What else is he supposed to say? Other than something that's supposed to be shiny, bright, everything's going to be good, hunky-dory, it's milk and honey around here. That's Patrick Mahomes' leadership coming through. But see, I also found it a little funny that Patrick said it this way when he says that I think if the offense was playing as well as the defense is playing, then no one would have anything to say. Right. Yes, exactly. You're 100% correct. When your coach is arguably the greatest offensive mind in NFL history, and you're the best coach in the NFL, maybe ever, making $500 million, your offense is expected to play a lot better than what they have so far this season. Your offense is expected to lead the way. It's great that you have a great defense. The Chiefs right now have the number 1 scoring defense in the NFL, and no one is more excited about that than me, Trevor, and Patrick Mahomes. We love that.
Us three specifically.
We talked about it, guys. We had a little phone conversation before the show. See, we're just hanging out with all these cool people.
Little FT sesh.
Yeah, a little FT sesh with PM. That's what we call them around here.
Yeah,
we got exclusive rights.
Friend of the show.
But the point is that, yeah, you're nailing it, Patrick. I don't think he understood what he's saying by saying that. It's good you have a great defense. It's good that you have a defense that you now can rely on in big moments, because the previous 5 seasons, he never really did. There was times where the defenses were good, but you knew it came down to Patrick making a big play. It came to the offense coming up big. This season, that's not been the case. There is reason why that this is being questioned, because this team is predicated on you and Andy Reid. Just like I said last week, the standard is different in Kansas City. You can't say, well, the rest of the league is struggling offensively. I don't give a shit. because no one else has this tandem.
Points are down.
No one has this. No one has this tandem. Why do when people talk about the 6-time champion Patriots with Belichick and Brady, everyone says they're the most successful, but man, they won a decade. Like, to sit here and use that as almost a critique when any other team would trade their franchise's history with the Patriots, that should tell you something how high the standard was for the Patriots. Yep. That they went a decade without a Super Bowl and somehow that was a knock on them. They were a team that won 6, and people were crushing them because they went a decade. That's a long time, but to the standard of every other franchise, they would give up their souls for going a decade without a Super Bowl to get 6.
Yeah, and after their 5th, their slogan was, "We're still here." They had to find ways. Teams like that always have to find ways to continue their greatness. Man.
So I felt like this was Patrick being a little defensive for something that I think he should be able to accept. And I'm not one that usually criticizes Patrick Mahomes. Right. He's the most non-controversial dude on this planet. I know who he is in front of the press conferences, who he genuinely is. We know people that are very close to the man. We know he's a genuine human being, a great human being, and he's the best quarterback I've ever seen play football. But this statement just kind of sat with me a little weird because I'm like, dude, you know that you are the man. You're the man. And if you guys aren't playing to the level that we're accustomed to, the standard you set from day freaking one, then I don't know what to tell you. So this defense, this offense, they got to start clicking in unison because so far this season, it's been without question the defense has been what's winning games, and they have the third cheapest defense in the league and the youngest defense in the league. So this bye week better have helped them learn something and adapt to something because we gave out the solutions last week, Trevor, about what we think the Chiefs can do in this offense. I think the Chiefs know those solutions better than even we do. We're just 10,000 feet up looking at this thing in the big picture. They're in the thick of this thing. Sometimes you get a little lost in the weeds of what overthinking things or trying to double down on shit. We know this is what the Chiefs have been doing, especially on the offensive side. Yeah. No more of that. They got to figure this out and be a little bit more open-minded as to what they need to do. Andy Reid needs to call better plays. Patrick needs to trust these wide receivers a little bit more, but also these wide receivers have got to play better football. Trevor, did you take anything from these comments? Because I like I said, it just kind of took me aside for a second. I just had to evaluate what exactly Patrick said. I even went and listened to the audio to make sure I understood the tonality of what he was saying, and it was exactly as I took the comments from Kuntz's report. What did you take from it?
It wasn't the most authentic answer you can get. It was pretty generic. It was player speak, honestly. He knows. I'm pretty sure he knows who the culprit is. Whether he thinks a little bit of himself as the culprit in the offense. Listen, man. At the end of the day, how we feel about his comments or not, to me, it was nothing. That was a nothing answer to me, honestly. And I love Pat, but I think he knows that. I don't think he was trying to put any true analysis out there to what's wrong with the offense or give anybody nuggets to build on or whatever to kind of give anybody any kind of insight on what's actually going on with this offense. At the end of the day, though, this is. There's never been this many question marks on this offense. This is Patrick Mahomes, as much as we love him, when we do. He's always walked into a really good situation, right? And he's definitely thrived with that situation more than anybody else could because there's a lot of young quarterbacks, Justin Herbert, who's walked into good situations as well with Hall of Fame talented players around him and hasn't done shit with it, right? So that's not an excuse to make to discredit what Patrick Mahomes has done because he's taken and he's ran with it. He inherited a team that Alex Smith had that couldn't do shit with it either, and took it to multiple Super Bowl rings. So this is not to discredit what he's done, but at the same time, this is the most difficult time he's had in this offense, and it's pretty clear. Just so happens to have a great defense behind him right now, which is good timing because if we had a bad defense, this would be a much tougher season than what we're dealing with right now. We're sitting at 7-2, looking pretty nice at the top of the AFC at the moment. So. I do believe Patrick thinks they're going to figure it out. I think he has that, obviously the confidence in himself and the confidence in Andy Reid and guys like Travis Kelce, and hopefully MVS can get it together because he's supposed to be the veteran on this team. I'm not putting money on that, but there's been reports that that Andy Reid still is a big believer in Sky Moore and still a big believer in what Rashee Rice can be. And, if Kadarius Toney wants to be a part of this team at some point, the second half of the year, that'd be really cool. But there's a lot of things to figure out, on this offense. And Patrick Mahomes knows that. He knows he needs to be better because he's been very indecisive. And that's a deep issue. That's a deep-rooted issue. There's a lack of trust there. Guys possibly aren't breaking the routes like he wants to. We've talked about this ad nauseum on this show, man. But at the end of the day, that answer was just a non-answer to me. It was just him trying to get out of that situation. Didn't really want to talk about that because honestly, it's probably uncomfortable for him. And maybe during this bye week they figured some things out. Maybe they switched some things up schematically. Hopefully, shit. So Yeah, man. For me, that was just that just felt like coach speak, player speak. In a typical presser when he's asked it, the big questions. So, and I don't expect anything less from Pat. I don't think we need, if we had a drink with Pat or something like that, he'd probably, start giving us some nuggets or something like, yeah, man, listen, I've sucked or something like that.
That again with those delicious nuggies.
Exactly. Yeah, if we had a dinner with some nuggies, we'd probably. With some extra ketchup on the side.
Andy Reid, AR, you're not invited because, we're trying to get you to take our delicious nugs.
Yeah. Keep those them pudgy fingers to yourself, man. But yeah, man, that's all I got as far as that goes. I didn't expect much, as far as transparency on that, as he shouldn't.
I felt like we took a little bit of a bunt on the criticism towards Patrick in that one, because, like I said, he's not one that I often criticize when he's
not
accomplished.
exempt. He's not exempt.
He's not exempt though.
Yeah.
No one's above reproach, and I felt like I needed to put that out there. I'm going to swing for the fences on this one real quick, Trev. Yesterday really upset me with the way local media handled some stuff, from radio to local writers to content creators on Twitter. It was only a matter of time until folks began blaming the wide receiver coach for why the Chiefs wide receivers haven't been as close to as good as many assumed. We've heard comments about, the wide receivers are getting open. Patrick just isn't throwing them the ball. Andy isn't using the wide receivers correctly. Did you guys hear Connor Embry speak at the press conference? His vocal tones were why the wide receivers continue to struggle. Literal things I'm hearing. Blaming everyone else but the wide receivers for the wide receiver problems. What's weird, Trev, is I don't remember, maybe you can correct me here, I don't remember hearing or seeing folks praising former wide receiver, now running backs coach Greg Lewis from 2017 to 2020 about Tyreek Hill being the great player he was. Don't remember that. But it doesn't stop there. No. What we're doing here is we're making jokes at the expense at a man's first real press conference at a timing that was honestly rather interesting to me. No clue why the team thought it was a good idea to put wide receiver coach Connor Embry on the podium, but they did, and now that's the story. Everyone is taking a break from the Travis and Taylor brigade to Gander for a few days apparently. So, if in case you don't know who he is, Connor Embry is in his 5th season with the Chiefs, serving as both as an offensive and defensive assistant in his first 4 seasons with the team, making 2023 his first season as the Chiefs wide receiver coach. What people may not know about Embry is he's also a former player himself, playing with the Kansas Jayhawks in the early 2010s as a running back. So the young man has both real on-field and real coaching experience to solidify and justify his current job title and description with this team. But what's caused such a ruckus over Embry was his press conference yesterday and how he talked. This is from my friend on Twitter, Lexi Osborne. This is the video.
Snaps against Miami. That was the most of that receiver group. How much is that just an indication of how he's come along and has grown since you got him?
Yeah, no, he's coming along throughout the season. I like where he's at. He's working well, working hard every day. And then just the snap count, it depends. You guys know we got 7-8 receivers, so it's kind of whoever's the hot hand will keep feeding, and then just next man up kind of mentality and stay ready. So he's doing good.
At least outside the building, there's, I think the perception is that the quarterback and receivers haven't always been on the same page this year. What's just the thought inside that room on that?
Yeah, I think a lot of it just takes time. I think it takes time. Like I said, we got 7-8 receivers. I think throughout the season, we just little by little, we're getting, better chemistry, more in touch with each other, kind of understanding when we get this look, what Pat's thinking, what the wideouts are thinking. So was a big group coming in this offseason, a bunch of new faces, and now that we're kind of settling in and figuring out kind of who can do what, and it's that. So that's it.
How much of
see if someone's getting better, and I think it's by each player is different. You can, they might pick up something quicker than the other player, and this guy might have to work harder, maybe off the field than on the field with mental stuff. So it just depends.
Okay, I'm gonna end the video there. It goes on for about another minute or so.
It was painful though.
It's you can obviously tell if you watch the video. I recommend you go follow my friend Lexi Osborne on Twitter. It's her name is Lexi Lexi Osborne. She has the full video, and you can tell this man is insanely nervous.
Well,
and
he doesn't want to be there.
Right, you can tell that this is not something he's accustomed to.
Right.
He is not the guy that usually takes answers from the press. He's a guy that coaches, stays behind closed doors, and gets the job done.
He's X's and O's.
He's an X's and O's guy, yeah. And this is what's funny to me about this, is this became like a joke to a bunch of people. We're literally, I'm seeing, because ironically, Lexi posted this in quoting of somebody. It brought out the worst opinions from the worst of us content creators. I'm just going to say it. Because Lexi quote tweeted somebody that looks like a daycare dweller, and Zach Eisen, tweeting in response, quote, "Listen to the wide receiver coach presser and tell me tell me it installs confidence in who is leading the group. The Chiefs might as well play without wide receivers the rest of the year," end quote. Then, of course, Carrington Harrison decided to have the Athletics' Nate Taylor join him in the roasting session of Connor Embry on his show yesterday, and the voice of Connor Embry in this clip, which I find odd, seeing I'm pretty sure based upon his own high-pitched prepubescent voice that 𝚂𝙿 himself is still waiting to hit puberty. But we're going to sit here and we're going to laugh at a kid that clearly was not ready for this. Now, look, Trevor and I, we're very comfortable behind the mic. This is just what we do. There's a lot of other content creators. There's other coaches, GMs, people like that can go into the stage, stand in front of people, and deliver something very strong, very confidently. But that's not everyone's skill set. It's funny to me how guys like Connor Embry are getting destroyed for this as an easy target for what's going on in the wide receiver room. But then we have guys like Mike McDaniel, who, by the way, Trevor and I both love. I love his dry humor. I love his offbeat ways about him. It's very like The Office and Parks and Rec, a type of humor I could very much appreciate and I very much like.
Best soundbite in the league right now, man.
But what makes Mike McDaniel charming is that he's got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, not MVS and Sky Moore. Because I guarantee if you switch the rooms, you guys wouldn't know who Connor Embry is, and we'd be crucifying Mike McDaniel for being a guy that came from the 49ers offense that has a hell of a scheme but has no weapons to throw to. We'd be viewing these guys very differently. Am I trying to compare Connor Embry as a coach to Mike McDaniel? No, but they're two very awkward guys behind the mic. One's charming because one's really good at what he does based upon the talent he's got, and the other guy inherited one of the worst wide receiver rooms in the league, and he's a rookie at his job, and y'all are crushing him and laughing at the dude. Look, I'm good for a joke. I like roasting people. I like getting roasted myself. But this kid was set up for failure from the beginning, and we have two of the biggest douchebags in our content-creating world taking laps around this guy as if they don't have skeletons in their own closet. Hilarious to me. Comedy to me. I found it all rather lazy. Connor Embry is simply an easy target to throw our frustrations at when it comes to the wide receiver room, when in reality, it has little to do with it all because of Embry wasn't put in a position to succeed. Not that I have to remind everybody, the biggest reason why I never bought into the way this wide receiver room was built was due to the lack of veteran leadership and experience. And that was proven on full display just about every single week this season so far. Brett Veach put Connor Embry in a position to be criticized for decisions out of his own hands. It wouldn't matter who our wide receiver coach is. If you don't have the talent and enough veteran presence, you won't be at your best, especially as your first year at the job. Like I said earlier, I never once heard folks fawning over Greg Lewis from 2017 to 2020. Not one time. I heard plenty of praise go Andy Reid's way. Hell, even EB got a little bit of it, Trevor. I think he's become more popular since he's left, but he even got a little praise. And Patrick Mahomes won an MVP. But Greg Lewis? I wonder how many of you fans honestly knew that man moved from the wide receivers coach to the running back coach in 2021. By the way, Trevor, why isn't Greg Lewis being dragged for the running back room not being deep? It's weird what we care and don't care to criticize. It's probably because Greg Lewis knows how to hold a room and knows how to talk behind a microphone. Man, if only Connie Ehrenby was so, as confident and as strong and as brazen as some of these other cats. Trevor, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to, first of all, just go right off of a comment I just seen pop up right now from our guy Ruben DeCruz on YouTube. He says, remember the Eagles coach first press conference? I mean, I think we all can. A lot of first press conferences for a lot of head coaches, industrial. Even this season with the what's his name, the coach or the Cardinals head coach in that terrible, somewhat supposed to be motivational speech. Listen, man, I honestly, me personally, I know you went on that tirade and it was great. I could care less about this. I don't care about your speech delivery. He's not a head coach. He's not a guy that's going in the locker room demanding a locker room. He's an X's and O's guy that's helping deliver a scheme that was preordained under Andy Reid. This is Andy Reid's offense. We all know this, right? This is a guy that just basically is supposed to he's mostly there for conditioning for the receivers. Conditioning and making sure the guys understand the X's and O's of this offense. This is Andy Reid's offense. This is not like this guy is out here drawing up plays for us. That's not what's happening here. He's the wide receivers coach. He's out there. I mean, I'm sitting here talking like I know the details. I don't, but this offense is what this offense is, and it always has been, right? This is a guy that's really supposed to be out there just for the conditioning, barking at guys during practices and making sure guys are doing their jobs and are on top of their P's and Q's. If the guy's awkward during a press conference, so be it, man. I mean, that just feels like it's a slow media day. That's worth taking half an hour to roast a newbie to the mic. That's just kind of a silly thing to do. How old is he again?
I think he's 32.
Yeah, okay, man. That's a young buck in this league, man. That's a guy that's getting an opportunity. Is this his first year as the wide receiver coach?
First year. He has 4 years as an offensive and as defensive assistant, which basically means he clips videos and sends stuff to the head coach.
Yeah, and now analyzes film and But I mean, I don't know, man. For me, bro, like this is just such low bar stuff for me. Like honestly, I didn't even know too much about this. I saw some rumblings on Twitter a little bit here and there, or X or whatever, but I didn't really dive too much into it. I'm not a drama guy. I don't not that this is even drama worthy. This is such a minuscule issue here. We have a talent issue. We don't have a coaching issue right now. That's not the point. Like this is the same offense it's been for a long time, and we've had rotating guys in and out. We've seen Demarcus Robinson have big games in this offense. Jesus Christ. Okay, right. Let's talk about that for a second. Sammy Watkins in and out. Sammy Watkins thrived in this offense as well when he was healthy. It's been a revolve. Juju walked into this offense one off season, balled out.
Right.
You know what I mean? So this is a less of a wide receiver coach issue, especially a young guy. And then the fact that we're making this a whole thing about his delivery and his cadence on the mic, it's just like. That just feels so childish to me, bro.
And isn't it funny to you, Trevor? And I don't want to expand on this any longer than we have to because we got a big preview to get to.
Yeah.
But is it not funny to anybody else that we saw a guy like Eric Bieniemy, who's one of his major strengths was being able to articulate himself in front of the media?
Yeah.
Not getting a head coaching job. Well, are we going to criticize him?
Let me say this too. Like, I'm putting myself in the player's shoes. If I saw my coach, and I'm a wide receiver, or any position, and your positional coach is up there on the mic, and you see the tape, or you see him live getting interviewed, whatever, and he's struggling on the mic, or this is not the best, or he just looks like he wants to get out of there, he looks uncomfortable. Are you gonna lose respect for this guy?
Right.
Or do you just know who this guy is? You know who he is in and out, and when you're on the practice field and during the games, this is your go-to guy. This is the guy you communicate with on a daily basis. You have respect for this guy. You think those guys are losing respect because he doesn't like being interviewed?
Right.
Like, it's just like the fact that anybody is really giving this time and like really going in on this guy is just, honestly, it's weird behavior.
Yeah.
It kind of says more about you than it does anything else. And I can only imagine what you were like in high school, to be honest. So
that's my entire point on all this, Trevor. And I don't want to go too far into it, but I know that people are like, damn, you're going in on some of these content creators. Look, guys, one thing I will never apologize for is calling out people for the right reasons. Look, if I do something like this and I get called out for it, it's fair game. Because we're putting out our opinions here. We're putting our voices out here. I put my name on everything I say, just like these other guys. So I feel it's more than fair for me to criticize some of this bullshit that's being put out there for a guy, like I said, that's been put in a position to fail. I love Brett Veach more than most of you guys do. You know, like I'm a big believer in Brett Veach. But Brett Veach put Connor Embry in a really bad position, and then they go to the extent of putting him on the fucking podium for what reason yesterday? That made no sense
Honestly,
whatsoever.
That's not even my issue though. Like he's in that position to be called upon to do interviews at times. But if he's not very good at it, so what?
Yeah, and that's my point. Is
Who
that
cares,
you're talking about a guy that his strength clearly isn't stage presence. So we're going to sit here and crucify the guy as a coach? You're saying that, because I even saw Nick Schwartz, former 6'10" guy, call out 𝚂𝙿 and say, oh, bad on the mic equals bad coaching, great analysis. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't correlate because Trevor just gave you a prime example. You guys gave us a prime example. Nick Sirianni, Gannon from the Cardinals, even Dan Campbell, who I love big. That's a man's man. It's about biting kneecaps and shit in his first press conference. It was awkward as hell. But you see what the Lions are doing. I'm not saying Connor Embry is going to become any of these guys. He probably won't. But my God, we're not going to sit here. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, we found out his name yesterday, and now you're going to kill him because he happened to be awkward in the conversation he had with the press conference. What if he was confident as shit? What if he was charming? What if he was this Travis Kelce type of personality? Would you then say it's because of him that the wide receivers are struggling? It doesn't correlate, guys. It doesn't make sense because coaching styles and personality styles aren't the same thing. Andy Reid is a soft-spoken individual, but if you've listened to any of his former players or current players, that man will get in your ass about shit. He will light you up. He's a fiery figure, but he's a soft-spoken guy in front of the press. He never gives you anything, so don't buy into this shit, man. And no matter what these other guys are saying, do not buy that crap, and don't place the blame on him. The blame starts at the top and the way they set this room up, and now the Chiefs are going to have to overcome that because of that, not because of Connor Embry. Speaking of overcoming things, the Chiefs have a big game coming up this week. It is Chiefs versus Eagles Monday Night Football. Trevor and I are very excited about this one. Yes, I'm going to speak for Trevor because I already know his thoughts and opinions on that because this is a game that we have been talking about all year long. I came into this season, Trevor, expecting the Eagles to be a really good team. I didn't expect them to be 8-1 at this point. Is at top of the NFC. I thought that if I looked at it correctly, I believe the Niners and the Seahawks were the teams that I had above them. But that's the way things go. Sometimes it's unpredictable. This has been one of the most unpredictable seasons. Let's be real, guys. These are the two best teams facing each other this week. The Chiefs are the best team in the AFC, top of the AFC at 7-2. Eagles are 8-1, top of the NFC. I think this is the best matchup of the season. Will it be the best game? We'll find out. But this is by far the best matchup, talent for talent, in the NFL. Pound for pound, I think this is the best matchup we're going to be getting all season long. These are the two best teams, like I said, and I do expect both teams to come into this matchup rested and ready, seeing they're both coming off the bye week, and that they are going to come into this game ready to prove that they are the best and most worthy team for that Super Bowl trophy come February. Having said all of that, Trevor, I'm going to say something, and it's going to sound arrogant as hell. I feel as good about this game and the Chiefs winning this game as I have in any matchup they've had all season. Why? What have you and I in particular, I don't want to speak for other shows, but what have you and I been upset the most about when it comes to this Chiefs team and how they play? They oftentimes come into a matchup they know they can or more than likely will win and bring their C- game. They don't, they roll the football out and we'll want to put a bunch on film. We'll just go out there and we'll squeak one out. That drives me nuts. I hate that about this team sometimes, man. It just looks like they're just trying to hurry up and get through the regular season. And I get it, but I don't at the same time. This isn't one of those matchups. This is a game and an opportunity they get up for. The Chiefs know that although this is an NFC opponent they're about to face, this is a prove-it game for the entire team to finally click in front of the entire nation. They told us that the bye week was going to be used to help build up the wide receiver room. This is a week against a bad Eagles secondary to do so. This is a matchup for the defense that they've yet to have this season. An offense that not only has two top-tier wide receivers, the Chiefs have already faced a team like that, like the Dolphins in Week 9, Not just an awesome rush attack, they faced that against the Lions, Bears, and Dolphins, but also a top-tier dual-threat quarterback in Jalen Hurts. Now, his knee and the health of that knee will be in question, but according to ESPN's 𝚂𝙿𝙸𝚂𝙾𝙳𝙴, Hurts has had a full week of good practice, so I fully expect him to be at his best.
Yeah.
Good. I want the Eagles to be at their strongest. I want them to feel as good and as confident as they can be going into this game. I want them to be pissed off. I want them to want revenge. I saw Jason Kelce, who I love and admire and respect so much, especially as like the oldest brother. I feel like I can relate to him in a lot of levels. We're both handsome, we're both millionaires, both Hall of Fame NFL players, both podcast guys. That actually is true. He said at the press conference that he doesn't view it that way, as a revenge game. Jason, come on, buddy. This is your final season in the NFL. You just not only lost a Super Bowl, you lost to your little brother. And you know that dude's going to be talking shit about that for the rest of your lives. They even have a Campbell's Chunky Soup commercial of him having a ringtone that says, Travis Kelce champion twice. Like, come on, bro. We both know this means a lot to you. This means a lot to your team. This means everything, dare I say.
This is the biggest game of the year of all games. Not even between these two teams. It's
without question.
The biggest game of the year.
Without question. I want the Eagles to be pissed off. I want them at their absolute best. This is why, and we didn't talk about it yet, the Joe Burrow injury. Everybody's like, oh, that's good news. No, I hate that.
You never want to see greats go down.
Yeah, I hate injuries, first of all, but I want the Chiefs to beat the best. How satisfying was it, Trevor? The Chiefs not only won the Super Bowl last year against Andy Reid's former team, which was so satisfying for him. That's why I said this one felt better than even the first one.
I was satisfied.
But beating the Bengals to get there a year after they beat us in our house, beat the Chiefs in their house, just a year previous, and Chris Jones making the big play, how satisfying that was. I don't want Joe Burrow down. I want him healthy. I want to beat those teams again. I want the Bills to make the playoffs, even though I picked them to miss the playoffs. I want these teams at their best. I want the Eagles to come into this game feeling like they're going to win. I want the Eagles to be at their strongest. This is a great matchup in so many ways, and I want to tell you why. Even with the wide receiver issues still being very much there for the Chiefs, this matchup favors the Chiefs. The Eagles' offense, highly touted, highly talented, very productive, versus top 10 scoring defenses this year. They only average 22 points per game. Against every other defense this season, non-top 10 scoring defenses, 31 points per game. That is almost a 10-point difference. Holy shit. The Chiefs, in case you missed the two times I've already said it today, or if you haven't Googled it, the Chiefs have the number one scoring defense tied with the San Francisco 49ers of only allowing 143 points this season. The Eagles have the 10th ranked rush offense. The Chiefs have faced the Bears, Dolphins, and Lions, who ranked 2nd, 3rd, and 7th in rushing this season. In those games, the Chiefs not only went 2-1, the loss was to the Lions by 1 point without Chris Jones and Charles Omenihu, I might add. They outscored their opponents in those games 82-45. They allowed an average of 117 rushing yards and only gave up 2 rushing touchdowns combined on 81 rush attempts. That's 4.3 yards per carry, which is actually lower than what the Chiefs' defense is allowing per rush on the entire season, which is 4.5. And 1 touchdown per 40.5 rush attempts. In other words, the Eagles are a very good rushing offense, top 10. But the Bears, Dolphins, and Lions are better than the Eagles, and it hasn't mattered. Even with elite rushing attacks, even with them having good days, this Chiefs defense does not allow enough touchdowns to cost them games. And I don't expect that to change on Monday night. The Chiefs defense has faced the 2nd, 8th, 9th, and 10th scoring offenses and allowed an average of 16 points per game and only allowed 12 points per game at Arrowhead this season. Why do I need to think this Eagles offense is going to come in here and put up points? When this defense has shown us more times than the Eagles offense has that they're elite. Why can't I give them the benefit of the doubt? But let's flip it to the other side real quick, Trevor. The Eagles defense, is 26th in passing yards allowed and 30th in passing touchdowns allowed. The Chiefs are 3-1 versus teams with bottom 5 passing defenses this season and average 29 points per game in those games. Even with their issues offensively, and by God, y'all know I feel them and I talk about them, the Chiefs have been able to keep bad defenses looking bad when given the chance. And the Eagles have a very good front seven. I'll give that to them. They know how to get to the quarterback. They're still one of the best at getting to the quarterback this season. But the secondary has been so bad, it almost doesn't matter, especially when you consider the fact that the Chiefs have a very good offensive line, especially in the interior side of things. And Patrick Mahomes is the most deadly scrambling quarterback this season besides Joshua Dobbs, believe it or not. But here, Trevor, is the biggest reason, and I'm about to hand the football off to you, man. Here is the single biggest reason why I am guaranteeing a Chiefs victory on Monday night. I am guaranteeing it.
Oh, shit.
Andy Reid has the most wins in Eagles history with 130. He's tied with Hank Stram for the most wins in Chiefs history with 124. He could become the first head coach in NFL history to own the wins record for multiple franchises, and he could do it by beating the Eagles. If that doesn't sound like poetry in motion to you, if that doesn't give you chills, you don't have a pulse. Guys, I don't believe in destiny. I don't believe in fate.
If that happens, the NFL's rigged.
I might actually start buying into it because I don't believe in destiny. I don't believe in fate. I don't think those things are actually real in the confines of reality. Guys, this is about as close as it gets because the Chiefs got upset by the Broncos just a couple of weeks ago. They win that game, we're not talking about this lining up. The stars have aligned perfectly for Andy Reid to once again get the last laugh against the team that fired him over a decade ago. And he's going to do it. You don't think for a second that he knows about this stat? That he doesn't know about this stat?
It's personal as hell, bro.
But you don't think Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, Chris Jones, and all the veterans and all the young bucks that have been leading the way this whole season don't know about this? I'm some schmuck with a microphone. These dudes are in it. They're in the thick of it with that man. You don't think they want to win this one for Big Red? They're going to. I don't know if the wide receiver room is going to get fixed. I don't think they're going to. But this team's still going to win the Super Bowl, despite that. And this is the first big step in showing the world why they're going to do that. Because this is the first opponent that can toe-to-toe with the Chiefs. Because if you remember the stat I've been telling you guys, since week 4 of last season, the Chiefs have given up one game. They've allowed one opponent to score 30 or more points on them. It was the Eagles in the Super Bowl. That's the only team that's done it since week 4 of last season. This is a team that's going to come in here, guys, and be ready to take the Chiefs by the throat. And I believe the Chiefs are going to answer the bell. They're going to get up for this game. I think we're going to see the best version of the Chiefs as a unit in this game because they know how much this game matters, not only just from a standings perspective, not only just from a respect perspective, but for Andy freaking Reid to become the all-time winningest coach in Chiefs history against the team that he already owns the record for. It's going to happen. Mark my freaking words. Trevor.
Mark it down. Man, listen, this is the most juiced game of the year. It's gonna be tough to match. This is one of the most juiced games I think of the last 10+ years. I mean, you don't get opportunities like this a lot of times in an NFL season, coming off an epic Super Bowl the year prior and meeting halfway through the year again. You know, both teams, majority of players healthy outside of Dallas Goedert. It's the only real injury of note in this game. Obviously, we have Nick Bolton down as well, but listen, I love the tidbits we were getting from Spags too that we're kind of getting out to the public about him talking to his defensive guys, talking about how the Super Bowl. Hey guys, we gave up 35 points to these guys. You know what I mean? How we're looking this year, that's a lot of points. We can't allow that. You know what I mean? So you don't think these guys are aware? You don't think the coaches are aware how big this game is? And then obviously Spags ties to Philly as well. That's a big situation for him too. Them having to come to KC. I know both of these teams have a ton of motivation coming into this matchup. With Philly, mostly Philly's just getting revenge and proving that they can beat the Chiefs. And wanted to get that off their back. If they show they can dethrone us or they can take us down if we do meet again in the Super Bowl, which is a likely scenario again. But the Chiefs have way more incentives, not physical incentives, not like actual incentives, but motivational incentives. With the defense, these two teams are meeting up again, right? This is a rematch, but they're not the two same teams that met in the Super Bowl.
Right.
Eagles pretty much are the same team. They've drafted well. They have a couple young guys in the defense that have played really well. The secondary is worse. They've been getting shredded in the secondary. Sam Howell should have beaten them twice this year.
Yeah.
And he's the most sacked quarterback in football.
Yeah.
Right? Granted, my boy Sam Howell, if anybody knows me, my boy Sam Howell. That's my
Hallelujah.
guy. That dude can ball. Should have beat them twice. Balled both times against them. Over 300 yards and multiple touchdowns both times against Philly. So if this is a get-right game, this is actually a good spot for this offense, man. To coming out of the bye, Andy Reid being, 28-4 or something like that in his career coming off the bye. An insane statistic there in itself. But with all the shit being talked after the Super Bowl, let alone what Tyreek was saying about his own ex-team getting lucky winning the Super Bowl, all these narratives that were created after the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, blaming the field, and all these guys talking about how the Chiefs got lucky and bailed out by the refs and so on and so forth. The Chiefs are going to have all that on the bulletin board, right? There's going to be a lot of things coming into this. So many narratives. The brothers meet again, all this and that. I just think there's way more juice coming from the Chiefs side. We are at home. We want to defend our turf. We want to, or our grass, I should say. This is just, for me, over my dead body situation for the Chiefs, man. I agree with you. I'm not guaranteeing to win, but this is going to be a battle. Both these teams should be as healthy as they possibly can. I think Jalen's fine. I think his knee, that was almost 4 weeks ago. He tweaked that knee. He's been honestly, his stats have been fine since then. He's thrown the ball really well. A.J. Brown is absolutely a problem in this league. I think he's right now the best receiver in football. We could talk about Tyreek Hill, but pound for pound, consistency levels. I'm with you on that. No one's been more consistent than A.J. Brown this year. And sneakily, right behind him, who actually has the most consistent 100-yard receiving games, I'm just going to throw this out there, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Leads the league in the longest streak of 100 yards per game. So my guy Amon-Ra is balling this year. But anyways, A.J. Brown is absolutely a problem. But we've actually, and this is no secret, we've done really well against wide receiver ones. We've shut everybody down. We've given all these wide receiver ones possibly their worst games of their career this year. And we have allowed some unfortunate boosted statistics to wide receiver twos. And their wide receiver two just so happens to be an elite option as well, in Devonta Smith. So that guy's a problem as well. So this is going to be a tough task for this defense. We gave up some points to them in the Super Bowl, but this is not the same defensive unit. We don't have a lot of rookies. We don't have a lot of rookies on this defense anymore. A lot of these guys are veterans in this league now. Have learned. We have Trent McDuffie is taking the next step. George Karlaftis, my God, is taking the next step. We have a Menahu on this defensive line. A lot of additions on this defense, and guys have changed. We have more depth of the linebacker position. Nick Bolton is out, yes, but we have a Drew Tranquil on this defense, and that boy is balling right now. True leader for these guys. So, and Bagnolo is in this defense, just having his way. Just absolutely playing puppet master out here to at an elite level. So, like I said, these teams this is a rematch, but these are not the two same teams. These teams are different. Chiefs being the more different team in a much better way, in my opinion, have gotten better than the Eagles have gotten better in this past offseason. And I truly believe that. And if I'm being honest, I think the Eagles this year, no shot at them. I respect them. I respect their coaches. But they've overachieved a little this year. They've escaped a lot of, should have been lost kind of games, honestly. But I don't like to do those kind of analysis where they should have lost a game. But their offense has been very streaky, hasn't been very efficient. But at the end of the day, the scoreboard and the box score looks good for them. And their defense is a little bit overrated this year, and the secondary is one of the worst, honestly. So they're a pass funnel defense. This is a game where I think Pat can go out there and ball and get these guys right. Kelsey could absolutely go off in this game.
I'm sorry, Mr. Pfizer, Trevor.
Yeah, Mr. Yeah.
Pfizer.
Yeah, we'll see if he can do two things at the same time. Maybe catching the ball and in the end zone. That'd be cool. But yeah, listen, man. This is one of the most juice situations. I remember growing up as a kid. Every time it was Raider week, it was just a different vibe. going to Raiders week, back when the games were super competitive and we had a lot of things to play for, pride and so on and so forth, the division back when it was competitive, you know what I mean? That was fun. But this is different, man. This is an interdivisional game. The two top dogs of the both divisions meeting again, post Super Bowl matchup. This is what you ask for as an NFL fan, whether you're a fan of either one of these teams or not. This is all the eyeballs in this country and outside of this country are going to be on this game. And Patrick Mahomes never disappoints in these big moments. Outside of one bad second half against the Bengals in an AFC Championship game where he played maybe his worst football of his career, he's never looked back and has never looked like that guy again. So, looking forward to this game, man. To say the least.
Well, to add to your point, we're going to have our guy Mike Williams from All Chiefed Up Podcast on in about 10 minutes. So strap in, get ready to go, guys. He will be joining us in just a minute, and I cannot wait to get to discuss some things with him like we got to on his show a few days ago. To Trevor's point about the way that the Chiefs have played defensively against wide receivers like A.J. Brown and his tier, because he's a very scary man. I think right now he is the best receiver in the NFL. Here's what the Chiefs have done against scary wide receivers like A.J. Brown when they've had at least Chris Jones in the lineup. And you say, well, why do they need Chris Jones? Well, when you have an upfront presence, you can give your cornerbacks a little bit of time to use man press, or press man rather, and be able to utilize a little more physicality when you know that you have guys that are getting pressure on the quarterback. So at least with Chris Jones, because Charles Miller missed the first 6 weeks, the Chiefs faced a plethora of good wide receivers in that first 6-week span. I'm just going off of having Chris Jones because the first Lions game, Amon-Ra had a good game. I think he had 6 catches for 71 yards and a touchdown. Solid game for Amon-Ra St. Brown, but not a great game by any means for his own standard, because Trevor said that dude's without question a top 5 to 10 receiver in this league now. But the guys they faced with Chris Jones in the lineup, DJ Moore had 3 receptions for 41 yards and a touchdown. That touchdown came when in garbage time when the Chiefs were already up by over 34 points. Garrett Wilson had 9 receptions for only 60 yards and 0 touchdowns. So he had a lot of touches, but no real effectiveness. Justin Jefferson, 3 catches for 28 yards, 0 touchdowns. He got injured, but that was in his 52nd snap of the game. So he had played the majority of that game and was getting shut down. Keenan Allen, 4 receptions for 55 yards and 0 touchdowns. If you've watched any of Keenan Allen's games this year, you would think that was his first half.
Yep.
Maybe a first quarter, because he's been going off this season. He's been one of the best receivers.
Career year this year for this guy, man.
And then our guy, Tyreek Hill. 8 receptions. That's good. Only 62 yards, 0 touchdowns, unless you want to, of course, count the touchdown he gave the Chiefs by letting Trent McDuffie rip the ball out of his hands. So that's what the Chiefs have done against these scary wide receivers. Now, Trevor's point is granted. It's valid. Devontae Smith is about as good as a wide receiver 2 gets, because that man is a wide receiver 1 on just about any other team in the league.
Yep.
But
Heisman
I love the fact that the Chiefs got one corner. It's like when Doc Holliday said in Tombstone, he goes, "I got 2 guns, one for the both of you." It's like L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie, bro. Like, if I have to put one-on-one and have them back and forth, and which Spags won't do, he'll have a bunch of different rotations and things of that nature. But I think L'Jarius Sneed, more than not, is going to be on A.J. Brown a lot in this game. The physicality of L'Jarius Sneed's game, a little bit of a bigger corner than Trent. Trent's more of a slot.
Some safety help over there.
Yeah, Trent's a slot. But here's the biggest X factor in this game is something we haven't even addressed.
Yeah.
Is not having Dallas Goedert.
That's what I'm saying. That's a big loss.
Do you not remember how great he was for the Eagles in that Super Bowl? Mm-hmm. He was huge for them in that Super Bowl. That third X factor to kind of take away from if let's say the Chiefs shut down A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown goes for 4 catches for 48 yards in this game. That's a huge, huge difference. But the Eagles can still get away with that. If let's say Devontae Adams has 7 catches for 92 yards and a touchdown. That could be possible. But having Dallas Goedert's 6 catches for 65 yards and a touchdown would be the difference. Not having that in the lineup now is a massive blow to this team, because Goedert has been one of the 3 to 5 best tight ends in the league for the last 3 or 4 years.
Yep.
So not having that in the lineup is monstrous for the Eagles' offense and their fluidity.
He's that safety blanket guy.
He is, man. Yeah. So that's the big X factor for me. Trevor, before we get to our guy, Mike Williams from All Chiefed Up, who are your 2 key players in this game?
Listen, so I know this Eagles defense is a tough defense to run on, and I was really, really, really going for a Pacheco game last week.
Yeah,
I really wanted that, didn't get that. I feel like that's something we need to really, really get going more and more as the running game moving forward in the second half, and I hope that's something that we figure out as well, a nice balance, because that secondary can be had, but it can be had on grand levels if you start working that defense forward more towards the line of scrimmage, and you can do some play action stuff with I mean that if this offense is able to do play action effectively, it's going to be a quick match here because Patrick Mahomes is so effective in those kind of situations when teams are biting on the run. You know, that can open up a lane for him to run himself, or to scramble around and make a play, and somebody breaks free down, wide open downfield, and it'd be nice to see a play like that happen. But this is the time of year, man, where we start unleashing some guys that haven't been too involved in this offense. And you called for it last week. I'm going to call for it this week. This feels like a Jet McKinnon game. This feels like a game where he, not necessarily in the running game, but this is a guy that can just put teams away by himself. We've seen him do it to the Broncos numerous times. We've seen him do it to other teams numerous times, especially when the temperatures start dropping. You know, guys are a little step slower. This is at home. The crowd's going to be ruckus. This feels like a game where he can go get 2 to 3 touchdowns. Ooh. You know, in a screen. Dude, because we've seen him do it before. We've seen this guy have 7 touchdowns in a span of 6 games, right? And have 3 touchdowns in games, 2 touchdowns in games. Should have had 3 in a couple of other games. He should have more scores this year than he has. He's had a couple called back by penalty. This just feels like a game where he catches some screen passes, some bubble screens, and we all know what he can do after he gets that ball in his hands. He's one of the more shifty guys in this offense. He knows how to create. He knows how to find those gaps, follow his blockers, and get into the end zone. So for me, offensively, this is a game where I feel like Jet McKinnon can just absolutely go nuclear here and really, really open up things for this offense and let Patrick kind of relax and just chuck the ball and find the guys that are open. You got guys like that eating the backfield and getting that yak in space. That helps this offense tremendously. So I'm going there with McKinnon offensively. Defensively, this is Drue Tranquill's spot. This is another opportunity for him in the biggest game of the year for Drue Tranquill to really, really establish himself as maybe a guy that's going to be a Chief moving forward, because we do not know what's going to happen with Nick Bolton. In his absence, this defense has been incredible. It has, right? Like, this defense hasn't really missed a step. Yeah. And that's to the talent of guys like Willie Gay, Drue Tranquill, and other captains on this defense. Obviously, the addition of Amenahu helps a lot on this defensive line, and then George Karlaftis' evolution has been a sight to see. But this just feels like another game where Drue Tranquill is going to, communicate with his guys, make some plays, maybe make a play in the backfield, and stuff in a run, because he's great at that as well. He's great in coverage as well. The guys is always in the right place at the right time, seemingly. So this just feels like a great spot where Drue Tranquill is going to go out there and make some play, maybe some batted balls, maybe a tip pass, interception. Who knows? The guy's everywhere. He's an animal, and I expect that to continue in this big spot here.
I actually like the Drue Tranquill pick because also I think the Eagles are going to try to get it to where they're going to keep the Chiefs in a very honest defense where they're not going to be able to stunt blitz. I think they're going to have to do a little bit more of a basic style of defense. I think that's what they're going to do. So Drue Tranquill's a good pick. I'm going to go with Trent McDuffie, though, in this one because of the slot corner protection. We know that L'Jarius is going to play physical against A.J. Brown. I want to see what Trent does against Devontae Smith and his speed getting downfield, things like that. I like that matchup a lot. My biggest matchup, though, and I'm going to make a prediction right now, there have been, like I told you guys, there have been 19 consecutive games where the Chiefs have gone without a wide receiver going for 100 yards. That gets broken this week. Rashee Rice goes for 100 yards in this game.
Let's go, man.
Rashee Rice has I think he's going to have a 45-yard touchdown in this game. Big breakout play. I like Jet McKinnon. I actually think he's going to have a couple big plays in this game as well. I don't know if he's going to have a big, I hope he does. That'd be great. But I think this is going to be a Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce game. Travis Kelce hasn't had a big game in a few weeks. I think he breaks out again too. I think the whole Argentina thing about, is Travis going to be ready for this game? I think Travis goes for 100 yards as well. I think there's 2 100-yard receiving games for the Chiefs this week. They're going to expose this Eagles defense even more so. Rashee Rice has his career day. I think that's where he sets up big time in this game out of the slot. Patrick gets, because what have we been talking about all week long? Rashee Rice, he's been getting snaps. He's not getting the touches. I think he gets 6-7 catches in this game, 100 yards, maybe a touchdown, probably a touchdown. Regardless, Rashee Rice is going to break that snap for the Chiefs, that long-awaited snap.
Well, and a similar player, Terry McLaurin for the Washington Commanders, ate them up both times up the middle. So, I mean, and he's a great after-the-catch guy. A guy knows how to find space. So Rashee Rice is a similar type player in my mind. So that's a good call there, man. But I think we're ready to go here, bro.
All right. Well, we are honored. We are privileged. I think we are completely set up and ready to go. This is the first time, actually, that we've ever had him on the show. They have one of my favorite shows in the world. Like I said, it's a brother-to-brother connection that we have with Trevor and myself, and then him and his brother Steve. They have one of the best shows out there, regardless of whether YouTube likes it or not. We've heard some bad news on that side of things when it comes to how YouTube has been demonetizing our guys, and I absolutely hate that. And I hope that you guys will be willing to support our guys at the All Chiefed Up podcast, because they are the best. I think they're one of the best shows without question. Honest, they give you guys the real, whether you like it or not. They're going to tell you the truth, and we are honored and privileged to have him on the show, because I was just on his show and I said, you know what? Let's get him on ours, man. It's time. Let's scratch each other's backs. Let's scratch some backs here, and let's scratch each other's backs. Let's give it up for All Chiefed Up's Mike Williams.
What's up? What's up? Hey, man, quit talking about back scratches. I need one right now. Nobody's here. Hold up. I got to get out my scratcher.
Oh, shit.
There we go. We're good. We're good. Man, just woke up like 30 minutes ago, dude. I have a job where I drive almost all night long back and forth to Lexington from Louisville, which is where I'm based. So it's a disaster. Thanks, YouTube. Shout out. Shout out.
Well,
picking up. Nothing says you love life by picking up more work shifts when you didn't have to pick up work shifts.
Man.
Jeez,
it's so ridiculous, man. I mean, I don't know how much you want to expand on that, but you touched on it on your show when I was on with you a couple days ago.
Right.
And I'm imagining it's just some political bullshit that they're pulling on you guys because you have a big following. Can you explain to our fans so maybe we can avoid it in future times when Trevor and I finally grow our YouTube presence? Can you explain what's going on with you guys?
Yeah. So it was October 3rd, I want to say. So this is when this started. I was just chilling. We had just threw up some shorts. I was in the backyard getting ready to start a little bonfire. I was having a good night. I get a text alert. Says, congratulations, you've been demonetized from YouTube's partner program. And I was like, what's up with this? So naturally, I'm like, wait, did something happen with my short? Did something happen with something I uploaded? You know, was there a copyright content on it or something? So I went and looked, completely clear. Nothing wrong with it. I went ahead, I deleted the short. You know, natural instinct. I'm like, look, that's the last thing I uploaded. Something sparked it. I deleted it, whatever. I contact YouTube, and basically YouTube said, hey, our bots triggered that you guys are uploading other people's content, reused content. So basically, they were just like, go read what it is. We're not even going to tell you what that means. Just go read our YouTube policy. So I go read it. It's about 2 paragraphs. And then at the bottom in tiny print, among other things that we have not written here. So who knows what it is? They've never told us. From what we can tell, if you upload shorts, you must speak over the top of them. For example, if we posted a short yesterday about Rashee Rice being an Eagles fan, cheering for the Chiefs, you know, not cheering for the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So if you take Rashee Rice and you take that interview he had at the locker room and you just post that word for word and you put writing over it, or you say, you know, in the comments like, hey guys, let us know what you think about Rashee Rice, that's reuse content according to YouTube. You must speak over the top of it. You must add something to it. So with that in mind, you're not allowed to repost other people's content unless you add value to it by speaking over it. That's what they said. It's speaking over it 99%. So basically, if you go to anybody else's channel, go to ESPN and look through their shorts. It is nothing but reused content, but nobody's going to touch ESPN because ESPN's untouchable. Did we do that? There was a few times, like maybe we'd be at training camp. I would post a video from training camp and I would not speak over that. I would show a play on the field. They counted that as reused content. And it plainly says, if you film it, it can be reused content in their eyes because you did not talk over it. So it's been a debacle. And they said there's 2 other guys out there as ugly as me and Steve doing Chiefs content. So I'm thinking it's you two. I think you two did it. Hey,
we're accomplices to your meltdown, bro. No, I was kidding.
I think you did. No, we actually thought we actually were under the impression that a competitor in the field started like attacking our page once we started getting closer in sub counts. We had an idea of who it could be. Lance, you may know. We had talked about it a little bit when we did our little meetup about a lot of money floating around to certain people. We thought maybe that was it, but actually now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think it is. I think you may have touched on another guy earlier, which I'm not going to say who it is because I don't want to say who it is online. But there's another one that stuff's looking awful suspicious on their page as of late. So we'll just say that. I'll
just
leave it
say
at
that. I like that you said it. You said enough to make your point. I like that. But I'm the guy that swings for the fences and says names, and that's okay. That you have your style, I have mine.
Right.
The point is, in all
Well,
seriousness,
I can't prove it. I can't.
No,
prove
you're
it, so
good.
I'm not
You're
gonna
good.
do
You're
it.
good. 100% agree. I think you're doing the more professional thing. I need to learn my professionalism a little bit better. But regardless, in all seriousness, you guys should be supported, and I hope that your ACU crew continues to support you guys. And I told you, and I'll tell you again, get on our Facebook page and post your guys' Patreon. I'd love for our supporters to support you guys as well while this goes on, and hopefully YouTube will remonetize you guys, because you guys put too much work in to what you guys do. You have one of the best shows out there without question, and I'm so glad that you and Chief Concerns got connected. Marcus Dash was on your show. They went through a very similar instance, as you guys are fully aware.
Right.
And they got remonetized. So hopefully that's gonna be the case for you guys, because like I said, you guys have too good of a show to not be getting that going for you guys, and you guys don't need to be working harder at your other job as well. So, but let's I want to have you on. I wanted to have you on here, man, more than just to talk about how YouTube sucks. I wanted to talk about more so the fact that there's a lot going on. Even though this is a bye week, this is a great bye week for the Chiefs in more ways of just resting and getting ready for a big game against the Eagles. A lot of teams in the AFC side lost, and we see that Joe Burrow is now out for the season. We've seen the Ravens went 1-1 since the Chiefs last played a game. We see that the Chargers and other teams in the AFC have lost some games, and it looks like the Chiefs are sitting pretty. And, we saw Patrick Mahomes in the Mannycast, and I started our show off with this. He had a lot of funny things to say. It was really good conversations he had, but something he did say, and it was almost a defensive thing that he said when Peyton and Eli brought up the Chiefs offense. And maybe he's just sick of hearing about it. I don't know what the case is. But he did say that, if our offense was playing the way our defense is, no one would be saying anything. And my response is, well, yeah, no shit. Because Andy Reid's maybe the greatest offensive mind in the history of the NFL. You're maybe the best quarterback we've ever seen in the history of the NFL. You're making $500 million. The standard is different here in Kansas City. That's why I don't buy the notion, well, the rest of the league is down offensively. It's okay that the Chiefs are struggling. No, the standard's different here. You have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, the best head coach quarterback duo in the league. Maybe the best we've ever seen. The standard is different here. You're standardized at a higher level to perform at a higher level on a consistent basis. And since day one, you showed the world that you're different. You're special. You're an alien. And so I don't like that Patrick came out and said that, well, if we played like that, no one would be saying anything. That's the point, though, is you guys are supposed to be leading the way. It's great that we have a defense that's top of the league right now in scoring defense. It's great that he finally has an elite defense, but the defense isn't what's supposed to be leading them to victory. It's supposed to be Patrick Mahomes and this offense. What were your takeaways from those quotes?
Look, Pat is the one that gets paid the astronomical. I mean, he gets paid more to take a crap than I get paid in a lifetime. It's insane, the amount. I don't think it's him like pulling a scapegoat kind of thing, but this is what you got to understand. I've been a Chief fan since I could walk. Like, this is what my dad taught me. He instilled it in my life. It was God and football, and that is what it is. And that is, I think a lot of Chief fans are that way that are our age. I'm probably older than you, to be honest, by a lot. I'm not even going to say it on air. I don't want to get made fun of. By the way, I just think look, when you start winning and you win the way the Chiefs do, and Taylor Swift's coming to games, you've got a ton of bandwagoners. Let's just be honest. They're fans. I'll accept everybody. But a lot of fans here do not remember when the Chiefs were built on strict defenses of the 90s, and we could not put points up. Go back to the Matt Castle days, we struggled. Go back to Pioli days, we struggled. We had Tyler frickin' Palco, bro. Like, you know how horned up I was when Tyler Palco was announced the not quarterback? Like, it was insane. But I think everybody's so used to just high-powered offense, and we've all been begging, can we just get the defense to get up there? And now that the defense is there and the offense is still struggling according to our metrics, but they're really not. Andy said it the other day, like, we're the number 4 passing offense in the league, dude. Like, I posted a bunch of stats about Nagy's first time in being the offensive coordinator back in 2016, 2017. And, of course, it was Alex Smith. It wasn't Patrick Mahomes. I get that. But his numbers down the board are pretty freaking similar. Like, you get what you get. Offenses in the entire league are down this year. You can look at it. I don't know what the deal is with that. I really don't know. I don't know if it's the short turnaround times. I don't know if it's the more crazy games. I don't know what it is. But something's going on. But now that the Chiefs have finally got the defense on par with the offense, yes, I get the offense is struggling, but let's just enjoy the good defense, can we? And Patrick's right. If the offense was cruising, yeah, you're right. We'd be beating teams by 40 and we wouldn't be talking about this.
Right. And then I think there's one thing that I will say confidently is not causing the problem. It's the wide receivers coach. Before yesterday, I would be willing to bet that 70% of Chiefs fans didn't even know who Connor Embry was.
Right.
Just like they didn't know who Greg Lewis was, maybe outside of his playing days, I believe with the Patriots. They didn't know that he was the wide receivers coach, and I'm willing to bet they didn't know he moved over to running backs coach in 2021. But I'll leave that there. The point is that I saw a lot of people, and this is why I called out some names today on this show, and I don't apologize for it. I saw a lot of people really getting a pound of flesh and making jokes about Connor Embry's awkwardness behind the microphone. And as Trevor and I were alluding to earlier, there are some of us, like you, Mike, like your brother Steve, like Trevor and I, that can get behind a microphone and talk to people and talk in front of an audience, and it's not really an issue. Or if it was, it's something we got over. This was one of Connor Embry's first real press conferences, maybe ever, in front of people that are going to ask hard-hitting questions, things that he's going to have to – because if we know anything about this team, the one weakness they've had all season is the wide receiver room. And, hey, this is a guy that's taking over a wide receivers room for the first time in his career, and it happens to be one of the worst in the NFL. So, yeah, he's going to be a little nervous. Right. I hated the fact that people use this as, well, he was awkward behind the mic, so therefore this guy sucks as a coach. Let's all laugh at him and point fingers. I thought that was ridiculous. I don't think it's him. I think he was set up for failure more than success this season by not having the true veteran presence at wide receiver to help him kind of learn his way up, because he's been a defensive and an offensive assistant for the first 4 years in his Chiefs tenure. Being a former player with the Jayhawks as a running back, he's up against a lot, man. This is a big step for him, and I felt it was really unfair for a lot of the media and a lot of the fans to go out there and take their jabs at this dude and poke fun at him. I'm all for roasting people. I'm all for roasting myself, but I thought that was really, really unfair, and I thought it was really weird timing for the Chiefs to put him out there before the Eagles game. What did your takeaway from everything you saw and heard?
Right. So Connor Embry, look, a few weeks ago on the show, me and Steve actually brought that up. We were like, look, maybe Connor's a little bit out of his, he was a running back. The dude didn't even play wide receiver. He had some receptions. That doesn't make you a wide receiver. He's part of some coaching lineage, I believe, here, if I'm not mistaken. Did his
dad was a coach at Colorado.
Right. So there's a little bit there. He's been bounced around. He was something else before he was the wide receivers coach, something to do with offense, quality management or something. I agree. Yesterday was ridiculous. I've said that maybe he is young and just don't know the ins and outs yet. But that doesn't matter. He can't get out there and catch the ball for him. He can't run the routes. He can't create the separation. He definitely can't make Patrick Mahomes throw the ball when they are open. He can't do that. I thought it was ridiculous what Chiefs Twitter did yesterday. But you know what? It doesn't surprise me. That's what Chiefs Twitter does. Chiefs Twitter is the most arrogant, I'm just going to say it. They're the most asshole Twitter base I've ever seen in my life, dude. Like, everybody's out there for a gotcha moment. Everybody wants to be the smartest guy in the room. It's absurd. Like, it is absurd. And the people they look up to, I'm not going to name names anymore, 𝚂𝙿𝙾𝙺, everybody else. These guys don't halfway know what they're talking about half the time. And I don't even think they're Chiefs fans. If I'm not mistaken, Pete Sweeney likes the Jets. He grew up liking the Jets. Like, come on. There are certain people out here that just take advantage of Chief fans, and they buy into it hook, line, and sinker. And then you got the reals coming at them, and we're just the negative Nancys because, that's the way it is. But look, I thought the piling on was ridiculous. I think Lexi Osborne retweeted that and got it going. Look, I like Lexi, okay. I've never been on her show. I've not watched Kingdom Queens. I don't get around and watch a lot of stuff. I have no time. Thanks, YouTube. Other than that, I mean, she's fine. I like her, okay, I guess. But I thought she was opening up a can of worms. And then, of course, big baby Zach Eisen got on there. Dude, I'm telling you, not a fan of him, not a fan of his takes. They're trash half the time. I don't know how the guy's got a job, to be honest. But I'll say this. The way they piled onto him was ridiculous. I even put out a tweet, and I was like, look, I criticized Connor Embry before, but I'm not going to get on here in his lowest moment because it was obviously nerves. He hum-hoed around. He was nervous. The Chiefs absolutely set him up for failure right there. And we're just all going to pile on him now and make him feel like trash. I'm not doing it. That's not me. That's not my character. I'm always going to fight the underdog. That's the same way, like, the more people talk trash on different players like Sky Moore and stuff, it makes me want to see them succeed more. I've always just had that in me. When Kadarius Toney had the first week 1, me and Steve come out and we was like, dude, Kadarius Toney stinks. He absolutely stunk it up. But then as the week went on, it felt like Chiefs Twitter just picked on him to the point where it was ridiculous. And finally I was like, look, quit picking on Kadarius Toney. Like, the dude's human. Could you imagine going out on live TV and having the worst day of your life and having everybody picking on you? Chill out and let's move on.
Yeah, I think couldn't have said it better myself right there. Let's get to some of the things you and I talked about on your show, man. One of the things in particular, I think it was one of the first topics we discussed, was we heard the reports. It was a very weird report, and it was out of the blue about preliminary discussions between the Chiefs and L'Jarius Sneed talking about contract extensions. Now, when you talk about preliminary, let's put that into context. Preliminary is basically like Trevor and I saying, hey, do you want to have an episode next week? Yeah, I'll do an episode next week. That's preliminary talks to an episode. Yeah. There's no commitment there. So it could have just been the Chiefs just telling L'Jarius, hey, we'd love to have you long-term, brother. That's technically a preliminary conversation. Right. I don't want to speak for you. I gave you my take on your show. I told you that, look, I love L'Jarius Sneed, and if I find out the Chiefs are keeping him for 3 more years, I'm all for it because the dude's awesome. He's one of the most versatile defenders in the league, and I've loved him since day one, man. He's made impact immediately and is probably having his best season of his career this year. Right. At the same time, I think that Brett Veach has shown us more times than not that cornerbacks are just not going to make a lot of money here in Kansas City because he has a gift of finding guys like L'Jarius Sneed deep and late in the draft. And I think that's what Brett Veach is going to continue to do unless you're a one-of-one unicorn type of player, which Trent McDuffie might end up being that guy. Right. I don't think that's who L'Jarius Sneed is. I think he's an awesome player, but I think he's going to go more the route of a Charvarius Ward where he goes and gets paid elsewhere with a team that's a little bit more cornerback reliance. But I want to hear your take. Let our viewing audience know what your stance is on this.
Right. So we have been under the assumption that L'Jarius Sneed was not going to be in Kansas City. The same reasons you said. We do not like to pay corners. We paid Brandon Flowers back in the day. He ended up out of town in a few years. We paid Sean Smith. The dude ended up with DUI problems or whatever he had. We didn't pay Charvarius Ward. I'm going to go out and say it. L'Jarius Sneed's better than Charvarius Ward. So if Charvarius Ward can get that much money, what's L'Jarius Sneed going to get? This is his first contract he's ever had coming up. He's putting a good solid group of games on film this year for teams to come in and start salivating over and overpay him. So if Brett Veach wants to get him back here, if Veach wants him back, he's got to do a contract extension before the guy hits the open market, I think. I think you got to lock it up for a 2 or 3 year extension. I think they said that somewhere around $7 million. That's why he should be paid. Look, if you want to cut ties with MVS this year and get your $11 million back, and my God, he should be paying back half of his other, $22 million he's earned. Max. This dude's paying wind sprints for $30 million. I wish I had that job. I'd be skinnier, bro. But I tell you, this is the thing. Like, if you want to take his money and give it to Sneed, I'm fine with it. If you want to pay Sneed, I will be completely fine with that at the end of the day. Do I think they will? I think the chances are not very likely, man. You have Nick Jones, who they drafted last year that looks so good. You have Najee Johnson that looks so good. He was starting to take wide or cornerback snaps like with the first team before he ended up getting injured. You got Chamari Conner that they just traded up for. You've got people across the board. Josh Williams has looked pretty good. Jalen Watson's still going to look good. You could just name them. That's how deep we are. Trent McDuffie, as you said, he's that guy. The Warden is locked down. He's that guy. Do I trust the Warden now? Do I trust McDuffie to go out and line up on the number 1 wide receiver every week right now at this point in his career? I don't know if he can do what Sneed does. He's a little bit physically not as imposing. His size does have a problem. We talked about it. Against the Saints, A.T. Perry lit him up in the preseason. If the quarterback can put the ball up perfectly, Trent McDuffie's got a little bit of issues. He's got size issues. We get it. But he's a dog, and he will fight you. And look, if you can get L'Jarius Sneed for 1, 2, 3 more years added on, which is going to be more than 1, obviously, 2 to 3 years, maybe you get an out after his second year, kind of like you do with, MVS or something. That way you can move on. I'm fine with it. If they say, look, we're not going to pay you, we're going to pay Chris Jones, I'm fine with that too. Brett Veach has shown that this roster can be built from different directions and still succeed because it's the players in the locker room, it's the culture. L'Jarius Sneed, if you took him off our roster right now for the rest of the season, I don't think our defense actually slacks all that much.
No, to your point, the Chiefs are 8-1 without L'Jarius Sneed in the lineup since he's been with the team, and that doesn't take away from his effectiveness. Like I said, he's one of the best defensive players on this team, and he has been since 2020. But it's been shown time and time again the Chiefs team can and will continue to win with or without him in the lineup. And so I think that's what it's showing is that other places he will be more valuable, he will be more valued, he will be more cherished because he will play a bigger role in other defenses. But having said that, we know that the conversation, because you mentioned a few other situations about where the money's going to go this offseason. I think I'm of the belief that you draft defense and you pay for offense more times than not. Now, obviously, you have to continue to draft both sides of the ball, but I think with a team like with Patrick Mahomes, you have to go and get him proven commodities at wide receiver. If there's a free agent left tackle, a guy like that, you can go spend big money on that's worth it. You go and do that. I know they were actively trying to trade for Trent Williams a few years ago. I think that they're going to continue to go down that route. I think the defense is going to continue to be where Brett Veach continues to draft heavily. I do believe wide receiver and offensive tackle will be at the top of the draft board this year because it's more of a unique year where the defense is so locked up and so young. He may be able to get away with that this year. But I think that Chris Jones is a guy that Chiefs need to consider keeping long term, and you and I talked about this as well about who would you rather have, L'Jarius Sneed or Chris Jones. To me, it's not even a discussion. It's a non-starter just based upon positional value alone and the fact that Chris Jones is truly, you want to talk about a one-on-one, unicorn superstar, that is Chris Jones. I know he'll be 30 next season, but to the point of what he'll get out there outside in the open market, he's not going to get a contract that's going to pay him $30 million a year because of his age. And other teams may not utilize him to the same degree or as good as he has been in Kansas City with Spags' defense. I think he's going to be a long-term guy here in Kansas City. I know he's not young, but, man, there's no signs of him dropping off. I know people are talking about his numbers this season. He's still on pace to have over 11 sacks this season. He's been double-teamed more than almost any other player in the league at 71%. I think this guy is absolutely having an all-pro season. He's opening things up for George Karlaftis and Mike Dannon to have career years, which they are having. I think he is going to be that piece that Brett Veach is going to continue to build around because he's had that luxury since day one when he came here and took over as Chiefs GM. Chris Jones was already here. I don't think he wants to create another problem by opening up the middle of his defense and having to find a way to fill that. What are your thoughts on that, Mike?
No, I agree. I think all of our defensive line has played pretty well this year when Chris Jones got back. Even the week that Chris Jones missed against the Lions, we did not look horrible. Like, we really didn't look bad. That caused a lot of Chiefs Kingdom to be like, well, there you go. We don't need, you don't need Chris Jones. Nay. You always need Chris Jones. You cannot take a top 10 player in the entire NFL and take him off the team and say that it's going to hold up. Like, that was a one-time fluke in a way. Chris Jones does so much. It does not have to be stat sheet. He could not get a sack for the rest of the season. It's the double teams he draws. It's the game planning. It's the getting bodies off the linebackers in the box. It's everything that Chris Jones does. Have you ever seen a 30-year-old defensive tackle start to go to the outside and rush the passer from the 9 tech in his 30s? And that's what Chris Jones is doing. Like, this dude is a freak athlete. He's in good shape. I don't see any signs of him slowing down at least over the next 2 to 3 years, probably 4 to 5. We talked about Warren Sapp having one of his biggest sack total years he ever had when he was 34. Like, he's got plenty of time. You pay Chris Jones. I don't know if you pay him 30. That's too much. You can get somewhere around the 25, 26 million. I'm fine with Chris Jones being here. He needs to be here. I think Brett Veach has built the whole defense around him. And look, Brett Veach drafts, it's been pretty obvious. He's cheaped on wide receivers a little bit. He's used his free agent money for the offense, and he's drafted defense. That's been his game plan. The defense is all playing on rookie contracts, basically, but like 3 people. It's pretty insane. Now, that's going to bite him in the ass when Nick Bolton and Willie Gay coming up and now L'Jarius Sneed. You're starting to see all these guys. Can you imagine when last year's draft class starts getting up for signing? That's going to be a shit show. Like, let's just throw that out there. You're going to have 7 people you're going to have to pay across the board, and it's like, look, they're all not going to be here. But that's what Brett Veach does. It's a carousel bringing in new talent. He drafts it. I think it's going to be fine. I think the Chiefs, what they have to do, in my opinion, is you've got to start drafting more offensive-minded in a way. The defense looks to be taken care of for a little bit. For a few years, we got to focus on the offense. You may have to invest in a first-round wide receiver whether you want to or not. You may have to do that. You may have to go look at a guy from Texas like Xavier Worthy. You may have to go look at – there's several different guys you may have to go look at in the draft. You may have to start looking at left tackle. Me and Steve was a firm believer that we thought they were going to take Anton Harrison last year, the left tackle out of Oklahoma, and we thought that's who they were trying to trade up with Dallas for. The whole blowing smoke about, Mozzie Smith, why are you going to trade Dallas for the exact kid they want? They ain't going to do that. I thought that was BS from the beginning. They were trying to jump up to take Anton Harrison, left tackle, and then when they didn't get him, they went to plan B. They went to plan B all night. They went to plan C, D, F, and G, and then we ended up with Donovan Smith for $9 million. If you wanted Donovan Smith, you could have got him 6 weeks ago. So we all know Donovan Smith was a backup plan. We know they wanted the left tackle there. I'm a firm believer they wanted the left tackle. I honestly think they liked the kid from Tennessee that Chicago actually reached on early in the draft, the right tackle there. But I did like Anton Harrison better. I don't know. I think they've got to keep building the offensive line. You got to keep protecting Patrick Mahomes. That's your bread and butter, and you got to start giving him somebody to throw to. I think it's pretty obvious he can't just win with the water boys. Like, this is the NFL, and the defenses get paid too, guys. Sorry to burst your bubble, but Patrick Mahomes, as much as he looks like Superman, you got some limitations. He can't throw it and catch it himself. We all can't be Jamal Charles. You remember the video where he throws it up and goes and gets it? We all can't do that. We're a little fat and sassy out here.
Well, if you look at all the greatest quarterbacks, and Peyton Manning had a plethora of weapons, and Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Demaryius Thomas, Julius Thomas.
Right.
All of them. And running backs, he had Brandon Stokely in the slot. Tom Brady
But we've had Travis Kelce. We've had Tyreek Hill for 3 years or whatever it was. By the way, anybody going to go out and induct Greg Lewis into the Hall of Fame because of Tyreek Hill's going to get there? So shut up with Connor Embry, bro.
Thank you.
Like, what are we doing with that?
Stole the words out of my mouth, man. I said that multiple times before you jumped on. I couldn't agree more.
Like, for real.
Let's get to this before we get you out of here, man, because we appreciate your time. We know you're a busy guy, man, and you got a lot going on. And like I said, hopefully we slap around YouTube enough, they'll start to wake up and get you guys get your monetization back. But I want to get your thoughts on this big ass matchup we got going on here, Chiefs versus Eagles. I broke it down earlier in the show, guys. As big of a matchup.
We play a game this week?
Yeah, believe it or not, the Chiefs
we haven't
are back.
played since Halloween, have we?
We're back,
literally.
baby.
I mean, it's been nuts,
it's almost
man.
Thanksgiving. I'm going to be eating turkey watching this bad boy.
We got plenty of tricks or treats coming this way, and I think the Chiefs are going to be giving plenty of treats out on this one, man, because I feel, and I told Trevor this before open up the preview, I feel as good about this game as I felt in any game in this season, because we know that one thing the Chiefs have done that drives me at least nuts is that when they know they can beat a team and they can roll the ball out there and just beat them, a lot of times they bring out their C- game and squeak out a victory and just play to the level. This isn't one of those games. This isn't one of those matchups. This isn't one of those teams. And this is what I think the Chiefs have been waiting for, is to have a game like this where they know they're going up against a team that can toe-to-toe with them. The only team that scored over 30 points on them since week 4 of last season was the Eagles. This is a big game. I know Jason Kelce and other Eagles players are trying to downplay it and say, oh, this isn't a big game for us, revenge game and stuff like that. Bullshit. Right. Jason Kelce has a younger brother playing for the Chiefs that he lost to. He knows this is going to be a family discussion at dinners for the rest of their lives. This game matters a lot to them. It ain't the grand scheme of things. Obviously both these teams' goals is to win the Super Bowl, but this might be the preview of a rematch for the first time in 30 years, I believe, between I think it was the Bills and the Cowboys, if I'm not mistaken, way back in the day. The point I'm making, though, is the reason I feel so great about this game is because the matchup, in my opinion, favors the Chiefs. The Eagles have, against top 10 scoring defense this year, average almost 10 points less than what they do against every other defense this season. The Chiefs have the number 1 scoring defense. It goes down the list, man, about the Chiefs when the Chiefs have faced great rushing offenses, the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 7th earlier this year, and the Lions and the Bears and the Dolphins. They outscored those teams 82-45 and only allowed 1 touchdown per 40.5 rush attempts. I can go down the list of the things I broke down earlier today, but the biggest reason why I'm guaranteeing a victory this week, my guy Mike, is because of the fact that there is history on the side of the Chiefs to get this done for Andy Reid. Because Andy Reid has the most wins in Eagles history with 130. He's now tied with Hank Stram in Chiefs history for the most with 124. He can become the first coach in NFL history to own the wins record for multiple franchises, and he could do that by beating his former team, the Eagles. This is all written almost, man. I don't believe in fate. I don't believe in all this coincidence or fate and destiny and all that stuff. I believe, though, that the Chiefs can get this done for Andy Reid and make it poetic justice and make poetry in motion, man. How do you feel about this matchup? Do you see it the same way, or are you a little bit more on the worried side?
I don't know how I feel about it just yet. I will say the whole Andy Reid thing, That is beautiful. I actually done a YouTube short about that. YouTube's probably going to say I stole that from somebody. You're right. I took it right off the stats website, that told me how many wins they had. But yeah, that's crazy. And if I'm not mistaken, he got another big thing last year against the Eagles in Arrowhead. The 100th win in franchise history, I believe, was against. So, it just feels like fate. The script writers have done a great job this year. I'll say it's been magnificent the way they've written out the script for the Chiefs. I wish they would get our offense taken care of. But when we get back to the Eagles-Chiefs matchup, this is what I'll say. The Eagles' defense is decently fine. I do think they can be exposed at times. I think the Commanders, Sam Howell, Terry McLaurin, they eat the inside of their defense up, like straight up between the seams. I'm pretty sure we need some zone busters here. I think that's what's going to get it. The Chiefs are primarily lining up against zones all year long. We've got to have somebody sitting down in the zone. This should be a big game for Travis Kelce. This should be a big game. Look, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think Rashee Rice has a decent game. I want my boy Sky Moore to have a little bit of something. I wish he could get in there and do it. I read a stat yesterday that said Sky Moore against the zone actually wins pretty well. He wins 50%, right at 50%. I think it's 48% versus zone coverage. And it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, look, let's get in the middle of these soft zones. Let's do it. I think our offensive line has to hold up. That's the big one because we do know they're gonna rush everybody at Mahomes. You've got to get Hassan Reddick off the edge. You've got all this. You've got Jalen Carter coming up the middle. Creed Humphrey's going to have his hands full all day with that big boy. Look, you just got to do it. I think they need to utilize Jet a little bit more in this game. I think you need to slow down that pass rush by doing some delayed screens, maybe a few delayed handoffs. I don't know what you got to do, but you got to slow them down. That's what you got to do. And I think it's going to come down to special teams, to be honest. I think Butker's going to have a big game. I've got the Chiefs right now winning, but only by a little bit. I got them winning 26-24. I think Butker's going to have to do something magical. It's just I can't really be super confident in the Chiefs until they show me a reason to be super confident. We always want the Chiefs to win. We always want them to blow teams out, and they can't do it. You can go back and look at last year. We couldn't beat the Texans. You couldn't beat Denver. You know what I mean? Well, we beat them, but it was ugly. That was with Bieniemy too. So all the people that keep saying, this and that, the Chiefs always look like this. Andy Reid does not have a killer instinct. He doesn't like to put teams away. Look, and to be honest, Patrick Mahomes is just not – he doesn't look the same this year. He's not throwing the ball. I looked at a next-gen stat earlier this year, or it was actually earlier today. I looked at a next-gen stat. There is only 2 quarterbacks in this league with a lower aggressiveness number, Daniel Jones and Bryce Young. Patrick Mahomes is the – third to last at a 10.5 aggressiveness number. And what that is, he does not make any throws into tight coverage. He refuses to do it. In this league, everything's tight coverage, guys. In the NFL, if you're open by a yard, you're open. What's the sentiment? Good quarterbacks throw wide receivers open. They know the scheme. They know where they're going. Throw them open. You've got to do it. Patrick Mahomes has got the arm strength. He's got to start relying on that more. I don't know what the deal is. A lot of people say, Sky Moore sucks, this and that, everything else. Look, can I do a little fun exercise with you two? Can I do a little fun exercise? I've got 2 receivers here. One of them are Sky Moore. I'm not going to tell you who the other guy is. I was looking at some next-gen stats. Did you know that the QB rating per target for Sky Moore, so Patrick Mahomes, when he targets Sky Moore, is a 57.8. That's how bad he is when he targets Sky Moore. He does not give him very catchable balls. If wide receiver to be unnamed, his quarterback throws at him at 106. And you would say, okay, a 106 QB rating, he must be getting way open, right? What's his win rate versus zone? 54. I just told you Sky Moore's win rate was 50. Okay? Against man, this guy's win rate is I think he's won 140 routes out of, I don't know how many. They don't got the exact stats, but he wins about the same amount of man and whatever. If you look at, this is the big one. This is the biggest one. The average separation per target. Sky Moore, average separation per target is 1.93 yards. He almost has 2 yards of separation cushion, and Mahomes will not get him the ball. The receiver, I'm not going to say who it is, 1.7. He's actually lower, but his quarterback gets him the ball, throws him open, and trusts him. Do you guys want to take a chance? This is another slot receiver in the league. Do you know who I'm talking to? This is Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yep.
And Sky Moore is getting more target separation, but Mahomes won't throw it.
Yep.
Well,
like, I'm not trying to say that these two are the end all be all. Amon-Ra, nobody's gonna compare these two at all. I'm just trying to say that Sky is doing certain things. Certain wide receivers, you can go down the board. Mahomes is just not throwing the ball this year. He's not. Look, the Dolphins. When we had that third down and short, we ended up having to punt late in the game, and we tried to play action. And everybody's like, "Give it to Pacheco, daggone it, what are you doing?" And Mahomes ate it and throws it out. Dude, if you look, Sky Moore's man tripped over his feet, and Sky Moore was gone for an 80-yard touchdown. If you look off the play action, Justin Watson was coming off the backside on a slant, coming out of the slot, and he was wide freaking open. But what was Mahomes doing? Watching Kelsey get triple-teamed into the dirt. He wasn't going anywhere else but watching Kelsey get triple-teamed into the dirt. So Mahomes has to shoulder some of this blame, in my opinion. I think he's a big reason they're all saying Sky's a bust at this point. There's a lot of things. I'm not going to give Sky any passes. The kid's got to grow up. You got to get in the NFL, and you got to grow up at some point. But, yeah, I'll say I can't trust the Chiefs' offense until they show me across the board that they're trustable. And will the Eagles play a little harder? Yeah. I believe they want to beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead. I really do. I think it'll be close. I wish I could die on your hill, Lance, to say that this was a guaranteed one. I can't do it. I can't say it's guaranteed, man. The Chiefs just haven't showed me that.
That's fair, man. That's totally fair. Like I said, I just think that when you look at the way the Chiefs have played against teams that...
Hey, people eat me alive for Sky Moore stuff, by the way.
Oh, it's okay, man, because look,
no,
I've got
in the chat. I love James. James says, Mike, please stop. How many has Sky dropped passes this year? You know his official stats? He's dropped one pass. One drop. Amon-Ra St. Brown's dropped 3. Come on, guys. Like, I'm not lying. I'm looking at stats. The amount of targets
might be different, but yeah, I agree.
Right. I get it. I understand that. But I think there's a bad misconception on what people think is catchable and what's not. Like, people still acting like that first Detroit game where he throws it out the sky at the end of the game that popped off his hand. That's not a catchable ball, guys. It's not. I mean, I get the old adage, hit you in the hand is catchable, but we got to be a little smarter than this.
Yeah, I definitely think there's an overthinking between Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes when it comes to the utilization of the receivers, in particular with Sky Moore. This is the credit I will give Sky because the fact they came into the season thinking they had 7 legitimate receivers, and they come to find out they only have 2, maybe 3 at the very most optimistic side of looking at this.
And they're all slot receivers.
Exactly. They're all the same damn guy. And Rashee Rice, being the youngest, most unproven of them all, is the one that they've been relying on the most, and that just doesn't make any sense to me in an Andy Reid-led offense. And plus, Andy Reid is running the offense still the way that he did when he was, had Tyreek Hill in it. He's still trying to play this aggressive style of football, calling plays on 3rd and 1 to pass the ball, which just does not make sense. You got to go with the classics and let your running back bull like Isaiah Pacheco go and get that 1 damn yard, man. I mean, there's there's plenty of other better plays to make when you have an unproven commodity at wide receiver like the Chiefs do. When I would say one, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was going to say we talked about it the other day about. Look, I think Brett Veach dropped the ball on the wide receivers this year. I really do. I think he should have went out and got a better wide receiver. They took a chance on youth and it didn't pay out. I'm not saying these wide receivers are world beaters. And I'm not trying to shoulder all the blame on Patrick Mahomes. I get it. He can't catch the ball and he can't do this. But Patrick Mahomes can throw the ball. Patrick Mahomes can absolutely say, look, these are the receivers you give me. They're not very good, but you give them to me. I'm throwing the ball. You have no other choice. I don't care if your stats look like crap. I don't care if you start losing. I don't care what it is. At some point, you got to be like, if you're not going to give me a wide receiver 1 and you're going to give me this, I'm going to use this and show you. Like, you just can't keep like ducking the ball down and just looking for one guy or whatever. You've got to go ahead and do it. Prove the organization wrong. Prove people wrong that you can't do it. That's all I'm trying to say with that. I'm not saying the wide receivers are world beaters. I'm not trying to say any of that. I just don't. I think they're getting a little bit of a bad rap. Yes, everybody has bad games. They've got a lot of drops this year, but look, go look back in 2017. We had a lot of drops. Go look back 3 years ago. Tyreek Hill dropped the ball 16 times a season just about because he tried to catch it with his body. Yeah. Like, look, it's weird. People don't want to give Patrick Mahomes. Nobody's allowed to criticize Patrick Mahomes. Nobody's allowed to criticize Andy Reid. I get it. I fully understand it. But at some point, when you watch games, when you've played football, for 7, 8 years, you understand that this is a team game. The coaches are just as responsible putting these receivers in the right positions. And if you're going to take 7 slot receivers and put them out there and try to make 2 out of the 3, every snap play a position out on the outside, and then expect Patrick Mahomes to throw him the ball, you're mistaken here. I just don't understand why that's a weird logic to interpret. For example, if Shaquille O'Neal coming out of LSU, boy, if they would have took him number 1 overall and used him as point guard, we'd have been looking at his career as a bust, wouldn't we?
Or a free throw shooter? Yeah, I think that would have been a problem as well.
So look, Sky Moore's a slot receiver that misses tackles and gets it behind the line of scrimmage. He makes people miss. Use him like that. Quit using him as an outside one-on-one receiver. He's not that. Like, of course he's a bust. And of course Shaq's a bust if we have to have a free throw shooting contest.
I don't disagree at all with the way they've been using it. I know you and I talked about that briefly on your show as well. And the stance I've always taken is I agree with that part. I think that there's so much nuance when it comes to the conversation, in particular with Sky Moore as the wide receiver, because there's so much expectation with him this season. Trevor had big expectations. You had big expectations, Mike, with Sky Moore. A lot of people did, because it was the second year. It was a time to establish himself as that potential wide receiver one, if not a solid wide receiver two.
That juju role.
I think what's happened, though, on his side, where he owns responsibility and where I do push back a little bit on the fact that I don't think it's all on one side or the other, is the fact that I think that Sky Moore hasn't done himself any favors by you've seen a lot of times, I've watched the All-22s, you've seen at times where he's supposed to run a sharp dig route or an out route to go out of bounds, and he doesn't run back to the ball, or he doesn't run it sharply. Like, you remember, even, I know this was his rookie season last year, but 2 very key plays the Chiefs had in games against the 49ers and in the Bills game. It was to Sky Moore on a quick out route, and he didn't run it sharply, and the safety read it, and they picked the ball off. Those are things that cost the team, and I think that Andy wants to find trust within these guys. And that's the problem, because I think Rashee Rice, the reason he gets more trust at this point, has been more productive, even with his drop issues, is the fact that oftentimes he's running the routes correctly, and that's why you see Patrick Mahomes throws the ball with such conviction to guys like Travis Kelce because of the tenure they have, and Justin Watson, who's a journeyman wide receiver, but you see Patrick throw the ball with all the confidence in the world to that guy, no matter where he's at on the field, because he knows he's running his routes correctly. So I just think that there needs to be some unison between them, and this is why I created that 3 solution scenario where I said you got to start giving Rashee Rice the ball more because of his snap counts. They're going up while everyone else is going down. You got to make sense of the Kadarius Toney trade, because they've yet to do that. A punt return is not going to make sense of that trade. That's not why you traded for the guys to return punts. He's supposed to be a special player in this offense. You got to start making him special in this offense. And the third one, and you said it earlier, Trevor said it earlier, and I couldn't agree more. You got to unleash Jerick McKinnon. There's no other reason you bring this guy back for a 4th or 3rd season as a 30-something-year-old running back, undersized and injury-prone, and has been a journeyman. There's no reason to bring him back unless you're going to start utilizing him as November, December, and January start to come about. He needs to start getting unleashed in this offense. I think if you, like you said, delayed screens, things of that nature to offset against this Eagles' aggressive front 7 and bad secondary is what could be the deciding factor and the Chiefs winning this game. And I like that you brought up Harrison Butker as well, because this man has been the best kicker, in my opinion, in the NFL this season. I think he's 14 of 14 or 15 of 15 this season, if I'm not mistaken. Let's keep that rolling, man, because I think Butker could be what gets the Chiefs back into the Super Bowl, because he did that last season against the Bengals and then ultimately decided the Super Bowl victory. Mike, I can't thank you enough for being here with us today, man. You've absolutely dropped the knowledge. We kept you longer than even I told you I would. I broke a promise here. But to my defense, I mean, you were on a roll, brother. You were really doing your thing. So, I mean,
you got to get it out. You got to get it out sometimes.
We're like Sky Moore and Patrick Mahomes here. We got to just kind of take the blame together. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Hey, I run the wrong route. I've run a few.
No, you ran the right route. No, what it was, you ran it just like it was like a glass, like a backboard shot. You threw it from way deep, and it banked in. Like the coach was like, "Ah, shit! Oh, okay, went in. So no big deal." So that's what you did for us, dude. And I can't appreciate your time more than I've already expressed, because, like I said, I know you guys have a lot going on your end, both in your personal life, and you guys do a shit ton of shows every week, man. And you guys got a lot going on, dude. So I appreciate you taking some time out of your Saturday. Give my best to Steve. We appreciate you guys. We respect the hell out of you guys. You guys motivate us. You're great friends of ours. I love the fact that we both get it, that what these shows are supposed to be about rubbing shoulders together, being unified, and about trying to be divisive. Some of these people ask for the shit that we call them out on, man, and I appreciate the fact that we have a brotherhood with you guys, Chief Concerns, and some other shows like that as well, man.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks for having me on, man. You guys be sure and follow these two. These two do good work. Subscribe their channel. Hit them up on Twitter. They've got their Twitters up here. I think I've caused them to go off the screen because of my third box here. But Trev the Spoken, Lance the Spoken. Yeah, man. Help them grow. Help them do whatever. And then if you don't care, if you haven't subbed All Chiefed Up, go ahead. We're trying to get to 20K. And
hell yeah, man.
That would be awesome, man. But I appreciate you guys having me.
I'll do the same for you, man, that you did for us. I'll make sure to put your guys' link in the subscription or the description as well. Make sure that we get you guys to that 20K because you guys more than deserve that. And you guys need to get back to monetization because it's bullshit what you guys are going through.
Right.
And we'll do whatever we can to help support you guys through the process, brother. But in the meantime, thank you so much for dropping knowledge today, dude. You have an awesome Saturday. Let's talk again. Let's get you back on the show before the season's over. And you guys have a blessed day, brother. All chiefed up. Mike Williams, thank you so much, my friend.
For sure, man. Thanks for having me. See you guys.
Absolutely. See you, brother. That was a good conversation, dude. Really appreciated what Mike had to bring there, man. I love the fact that, it's cool because he sees it from a different lens when it comes to the Sky Moore thing. Like I told you, Char, I've already made peace with my situation with Sky Moore. I've kind of just accepted the fact this just is who he is. But Mike, he brings it from a different perspective, helps me see it from a different perspective, and I love that. I think it's a nuanced conversation because to the defense of Sky Moore, he is still a young player. Yep. They haven't been utilizing him the right way, or at least the way that I think suits his skill set the best. And here we are looking at this as, okay, where do we go from here?
Well, and I honestly agree with a lot of the things he was saying because like I say on this show all the time, I mean, I'm not going to be like the guy that's like saying Patrick Mahomes is the problem because he's not. This is a team issue. But like I've said before on the show, Patrick Mahomes is not exempt of criticism. And after that Broncos loss, when we did our postgame show with Book, I was very critical of Patrick Mahomes. I even remember saying some similar things to what Mike was saying about, listen, we've seen other teams with guys that are having, similar separation, guys that are honestly even less skilled than some of the guys we have out there at receiver, and somehow these lesser quarterbacks are finding ways to get it done and throw these guys open. So we've got to figure out a way. And a lot of that does come back to the lack of trust from Patrick Mahomes. Him not being as aggressive this year is an anomaly. But it's an anomaly. Why is it an anomaly? Why is he not trusting why is he not being as aggressive this year? It's because he doesn't trust these guys to get open, and he's already had more turnovers than he probably likes this year because of the lack of trust, and he doesn't want that to continue. But at the same time, the double-edged sword here in this situation is when you're trying to be too safe, sometimes you have more turnovers, and you become more turnover-prone when you're trying to play safer, right? Because you're second-guessing yourself, and we see that a lot with him second-guessing himself. And there's been some questionable play calling, too. On third and shorts, we should just pound the football forward and trust this offensive line. We're doing cutesy little plays and going to Travis Kelce when we know he's going to be triple-teamed. He's getting triple-teamed all night, and we're going to try to go hit him on 3rd and 1. It's just it's a lot of silly things that have all kind of intertwined and connected and caused this conglomerate of an issue. And it's not all Patrick Mahomes. It's not all Sky Moore. It's not all Kadarius Toney. It's not all MVS. It's just a combination of all these things together.
It's a gumbo.
Patrick Mahomes does need to be better, though. We know that. He does need to start, taking some more chances and trying to get this ball downfield, test these defenses. There's a lot of things. But yeah, man, a great content from Mike. I mean, that was a refreshing, kind of get another, perspective on some certain things. He triggered some people in the chat, which is great. We always love that. Yeah, man. He's obviously critical of Sky Moore as well. He's got to be better. Like he said, he's got to grow up in this league. You got to be a man in this league. This is a man's league, or you'll be out quick.
Well, and I like the fact that the ACU crew showed up, the all chiefed up crew.
I was trying to put some of these people on the screen. Give them love.
They have a great following, man. When I'll watch Mike and Steve talk on their episodes, and I see how lively it is, man. We've gotten a lot of our regulars from all chiefed up, so we humbly accept that, man. We don't look. Trevor and I are not going to act like we've made it, man. We're in a place. We have an established show here. We're nearing on 250 episodes. We're an established show.
Yeah.
We have a really good following on social media, but YouTube is definitely where we're still trying to grow this thing. And I'll be totally candid with you, guys like Mike and Steve and Marcus Dash and Jason Dunn, the guys like that. Those are the ones that are helping us grow.
We're trying to be like them, bro.
Yeah, man. We're aspiring to be like these guys. I'm not too proud to say that. Who the hell am I? These guys are.
That's why we got him demonetized.
That's
why we got him off YouTube.
Exactly. We had to make sure and get ACU demonetized to help out.
And then we invite him on the show. We invite him on the show like an asshole.
Yeah, we laugh, but that is so screwed up, man.
They'll get it fixed.
Chief Concerns had the same shit go down. They got it back and got it running. I'm confident all chiefed up will get back and running because they have too good of a show, and you guys are too great of a following for them to not do great things and have great things going for them. So I hope it gets back for them. And Mike is an awesome dude, and we really appreciate him. We're definitely going to have them back. We'd like to get Steve on the show as well, too, dude.
Oh, yeah.
So I had great talks with them at Zarda when I was with him and Haley Lewis and Steve. Met Brian Parrott and a couple other people out there as well. Great time. Let's get to the Speak It, man. You guys have been chiming in like a motherfucker. Let's get this going, dude.
Man.
Let's get some. You got any questions, concerns? What we got going on?
There's been a whole lot of 𝚂𝙿 love. Let me tell you that. Not that's sarcasm if you guys haven't caught on to that yet. No, I went through it. The chat has been live today, but I went through and favorited and starred a couple of the questions that I wanted to get to.
Cool.
I will start here with Julia Gulia on YouTube.
Nice.
She says, "Do we ever get our left tackle, or is it just going to be filled with 1 year or 2 year deal guys?"
That's a great question, Julia. This is something I talked about several episodes ago, because I don't like to get too far ahead. I like to keep things where we're at. The main thing, which is this current season. But I've been saying on several episodes in the past that if I'm making a bet right now, I think the Chiefs are going to go for tackle first and foremost, because I think Mike is right.
That's what I wanted to do this year.
Yeah, I think Mike was right. I think the Chiefs were trying to find that tackle, but the problem is, more times than not, you're not going to find that premier start day one left tackle in the 25s to 45s in the draft selections. You're going to usually find that guy in the first 15 to 20 picks. So the Chiefs are going to want to have that guy, that next level, starter for a decade kind of left tackle, which I would very much love to have. In fact, I'd rather have a certified premier left tackle over a certified premier wide receiver. I think if the Chiefs are going to do that, they're going to have to trade up. Do they have the trade capital? Do they have the draft capital right now to do so? Maybe. I think they have, 6-7 picks in this next draft? They may not. They might have to pull from some future drafts to maybe go up and get that guy. It's gonna be difficult, and this is the downfall, and not really the downfall, but this is the quirks of being such a successful franchise, is that every single year you're at the bottom of the first round. It's difficult to get guys. This is why I always give Brett Veach kind of a break, is that he's not getting the 11th pick every year. He's not getting the 8th pick every year. He's not getting the 17th pick every year. He's having to deal with 28th through 32 every single season. So this is you have to be a little bit more crafty. So they might have to be aggressive and trade up and get into the 14th pick to get the second best left tackle of this draft coming up. And from what I see and from what I hear, there are a lot of really good left tackles in this draft, a lot better than last year's draft. So it might have been a blessing in disguise that the Chiefs didn't go up and get one of those guys this last year, and might end up having a guy fall to them, or get a guy a little bit, 10, 15 picks ahead of them, and go and get a guy that starts for the next 12, 13 years. So we'll see, but that's my bet right now, is I think the Chiefs will go off aggressively and try to get that left tackle. We've known for years now they try to get Trent Williams. They ended up trading for Orlando Brown Jr. They ended up having to settle for Donovan Smith. I don't think that's going to be the reality for the next 3 to 4 years, where they're just going and getting lunch pail guys, or just going and getting guys like that off the free market. I think they're going to go and get a guy, solidify it, and do the right thing. Because Brett Veach, to his credit, has been able to build this offensive line and make it very formidable over these last couple of years.
Could not agree more, man. Next question is from Trish on YouTube. Chris Jones said he was getting some rugby advice for the tush push. Do you think the Chiefs defense could stop that play?
What do you think on that?
Stop that play? I'm going to say no, because it's yet to be done. Right. But if anybody is going to be, innovative and study rugby, it's going to be Andy Reid, it's going to be Spags, it's going to be these guys that have continued to be innovative through their whole careers at their skill set of what they do defensively and offensively in this team. So I think eventually the tush push is going to be caught up. And there's never been an unstoppable thing. As great as the QB sneak was for Tom Brady, there was times he got stuffed. There was times that it didn't work. Even on the goal line, he's tried that before, and he's gotten stuffed at the goal line, took some massive hits. This league, no matter how great you are at something, there's always a humbling moment, right? As of right now, that's a damn near unstoppable play right now on third and shorts and goal line situations. Do I think we figure it out this week? Probably not. If it's a successful play in rugby and we want to try to find some rugby angles defensively to try to stop it, it's still going to be successful probably even then, because that's just it. And then on top of it, we've seen other teams try to implement this play, and it's failed miserably.
Yeah.
I think what makes this play so incredible is the fact that they have the best center in football in Jason Kelce, who's a very a shorter center, and he has a very low sense of gravity, and he is strong as shit.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the quarterback that's getting the snap is strong as shit and can squat like 700 pounds. Jalen Hurts is an absolute man. That guy is strong. He might be the strongest, most stout quarterback in this league since Cam Newton, right? So this guy is he's just a specimen. To both these guys, it's just this play was just honestly felt handcrafted by the gods for these guys to continue to run. And I respect it, man. It sucks. It's boring and it's annoying. But it's consistent, and consistency is what wins games. And these guys in situational football, they consistently win at that play. So do I think the Chiefs somehow develop some kind of formula to stop that? No, unfortunately, no, I do not.
I definitely agree with that. That's why the Chiefs are going to have to in this game
force third and longs
and fourth and longs, because we know that that the Eagles basically start every drive with knowing they have 5 downs.
Right.
It's gonna be 5 down territory. They're gonna make sure that they're gonna get 5 downs. They're gonna make sure that they're gonna keep your defense on the field as much as possible. That's the deadliest trait about this Eagles offense.
Yeah.
Is they can extend drives by just this annoying ass play that I want to see banned personally.
Well, and that comes down to this defense.
Yeah.
If they want to keep our offense off the field and extend drives, and they're very good at that. The Eagles are very good at that offensively. If they want to make this game, shorten this game by having fewer possessions by both teams.
Yeah.
We got to stop them. One, defensively, we got to stop them when they get into the red zone, because they're going to most likely be in the red zone a lot, because I have all respect in the world for that offense to figure out ways to keep getting down in the red zone and having extensive drives. And our offense has got to put up points. We got to keep the pressure on them offensively, just like it sounds funny, but just like Sam Howell and the Commanders did.
Right.
They've been the best at competitive wise against the Eagles. I know the Eagles lost a couple of games, but those games were just where the offense wasn't showing up. But the offense was showing up for the Eagles in those Washington games, but they had to, because the points were being scored by Sam Howell and the Washington Commanders. So if we can keep that defense on their toes and keep forcing the Eagles, putting the pressure on them to put up points and match us, and that'll kind of press them on maybe making some mistakes on the offensive side and not be able just to play short fields.
I did say, just a side note, I saw somebody said that Tech 9 sub to the Spoken.
I'm not sure if that's the real Tech 9 or not.
I'm choosing to believe it is. It's more than likely not. Probably just a very big fan of Tech's. I understand that, from Kansas City. But
if you're the real Tech 9, let us know.
Yeah, you can make our new theme song.
Yeah.
Shit. I don't know if we can afford you, but we'll give it a go. But thank you, regardless of whoever it is behind that title. Thank you for subscribing to the show. Thank you for everybody, man. The chat looks like it's been blowing up today.
Yeah.
That's big credit to Mike Williams and All Chiefed Up, but we appreciate all you guys, the regulars as well, that are with us every single week. Trevor, I know that you got more on there, though. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, so next question comes from a Chiefs fan in Colorado. Could the struggles on the offense be attributed to the difference in coaching styles between Nagy and EB? We touched on this a little earlier. EB was a hard ass, but got results.
Okay, I'm gonna address this, and I hope, because I understand the question. I do understand. I respect why this is a question. But guys, you have to understand that throughout the entire tenure of Andy Reid in Kansas City, he's had, 5 OCs? Let's name them. Doug Peterson, Matt Nagy, Eric Bieniemy, and then now Matt Nagy again. So 4 technically, but three humans. But he's had 4 different OCs. Now, Matt Nagy is not the same OC that he was 6 years ago, because 6 years ago he took on a head coaching job and he learned the NFL a lot differently. So Eric Bieniemy could be more of a hard ass, but that's because Eric Bieniemy's never had the responsibility of being a head coach. Matt Nagy had to understand how to talk to players from a head coaching perspective. That's not something Eric Bieniemy's ever had. So Eric Bieniemy's had the luxury of just being an OC from an OC's mind and perspective. Matt Nagy's not only been a head coach, he's been a decently successful head coach, going to the playoffs twice with Mitchell freaking Trubisky as his quarterback in the NFC, and then coming back and doing what he's doing with Kansas City, having to learn and adjust and adapt, and may end up being the successor for Andy Reid. I don't think it has anything to do with who the OC is, because to the point of Mike Williams and several other people that have talked on the show, myself included, we can't sit here and pretend that 2021 didn't happen. Guys, the Chiefs were 3-4, and their offense was leading the league in turnovers at that point. Was Eric Bieniemy not the OC of the offense at that time? Their offense was struggling mightily. Sure, they were scoring points, but they were horrific in large portions of that season. And the offense was the reason why they didn't get to the Super Bowl. So we got to sit here and be fair, guys. It is not about Matt Nagy. It's not about Eric Bieniemy. This is Andy Reid's offense. His OCs are simply guys that are helping and contributing to it. I don't want to sit here and say they don't have a job or any relevancy, but this is Andy Reid's offense, and it's Patrick Mahomes' offense. Those are the two that you look at. That's why I said what I've said numerous times over these last couple of weeks, that when it comes to this offense being down, I look at those two. I don't look at coordinators. I don't look at those guys as being the ones. Now, Spags is different. Spags no Spagnuolo, that's different because he's essentially a head coach on the defensive side because Andy Reid lets him do his things. He's a unique infrastructure.
He's won Super Bowls outside of here.
Yeah, if Andy Reid was a defensive-minded coach and Matt Nagy was struggling the way he is, I would view this differently because there's no oversight. It's not Andy Reid on top of him because Andy Reid's over there on the defensive side. That's why I give Andy Reid the responsibility, the fair criticisms, and all the praise when things are going well.
The schematic issues are still the same schematic issues that Andy Reid has dealt with his whole career.
Yes.
Right now, we have a schematic issue on top of the talent issue. That's the problem right now. We don't have guys that can win in spite of the schematic issues. And listen, I say this every time we have this topic come up. This is a grievance from privilege.
Yes.
Because here we are, 7-2, trying to go back-to-back champs, winning 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls, and we're talking about the hard times right now, the Chiefs offense. Like, we're going to figure it out at some point. It's going to be maybe a rough, rocky road the rest of the year, but I still put my money on this team to be the best team at the end of the year. So
I'm not trying to take
here we go.
a point from you, but I saw our guy Shaggy ask the question about. So we didn't say anything yet because I wanted to make it an announcement. I wanted to have this kind of as a surprise to everybody. But long story short, for the last few months, I have been in discussions with former Chiefs left tackle Orlando Brown Jr. to join our show.
Yep.
He did give us a date. It was supposed to be today. In fairness, the Bengals not only lost, was it a third consecutive game or 2 of their last 3, pretty much their season's done. He just lost his quarterback, Joe Burrow. I didn't hear back from Orlando after that. So I didn't really push the envelope to try to get him back on the show today, even though he was scheduled to be on the show. I know nobody heard that. That's because I was keeping that one in the holster. I was going to get it confirmed, and then I was going to have him on the show. We're hoping that we will get Orlando Brown on the show sometime, hopefully in late December, because that is when the Chiefs and Bengals do play. It's on New Year's Eve. I would like to see that be a potential time. I don't want to speak for Orlando. We will stay in contact. He's been nothing but graceful to me, gracious to me. He's followed me on Twitter. He's always responded. But I'm sure this has been a pretty rough week for him. I'll give him his respect. So to answer that question, like I said, I know none of you guys knew about it. It's been Trevor and I. We told some friends in confidence, but that is where we're at on that. So we'll hopefully have Orlando on in about a month or so. But yeah, that's what's going on with that. So
we've been outed. Yeah. Well, speaking of Shaggy, he has another question for us. What do you think about the rain chances on Monday night, slowing the game down? It could be an ugly, low-scoring game.
I don't look. It could end up being a low, ugly scoring game. That's just because of how these teams could end up playing it, but. According to what I'm seeing on the forecast, it looks like it's going to rain up until about the afternoon time, and then it's going to start. They said, according to some meteorologists on Twitter, that if in fact it is still raining at that time, it's going to be a very light rain. And I just don't. Maybe I'm just somebody that just doesn't take that as seriously as like a heavy snow or a torrential downpour. I don't think it's going to really factor in because Patrick Mahomes has never had a problem throwing the ball in any type of weather at any given time of the day or night. So. It's not supposed to be like ultra cold. I think it's being like the mid to high 40s. So it's not going to be like a frigid, drizzly kind of rain, anything like that that's going to affect the players. These are football players. These guys have been playing this game their whole lives, which means that majority of them have probably played in some rain. I think they're going to be fine. I think both sides are going to work through it, even if there is rain. But I'm not anticipating that the weather's going to be a real factor in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I don't give too much unless it's like super windy. That's the only time I really give credence to weather.
Right.
And we've seen Patrick Mahomes play in the craziest of elements and still go out there and ball. And I think that favors the Chiefs because, if you're at home, that favors offensive players more than anything. When things are slippery and if it's wet and cold or whatever, that honestly tends to favor the receiver because they know where they're going. The defenders have to react to where the receivers are going. That can lead to more of, honestly, for me, in my opinion, a higher scoring game than a lower scoring game. Obviously, it can be a lower scoring game because mistakes can be made, but I think this actually opened, if it's a sluggish kind of a rainy day, I think that can open up more offensive points to be scored because defensive players can slip and fall and things can happen in that way. So, I don't really give it too much credence as far as weather goes. But we got another question here from Chief fan in Colorado, Lance and Trev. What does McDuffie? Let's see. Does McDuffie get a forced fumble in this game? I think he's asking if and when do you think McDuffie could get a forced fumble in this game?
Well, I think there's always a chance because I think he leads the league in forced fumbles.
Yeah.
He has 4, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I think
at his
there's-
position for sure.
Yeah, there's a given chance that McDuffie could do it. Am I going to bank on it? No, probably not because A.J. Brown and Devontae are pretty sure-handed receivers.
Yeah.
So it's going to have to be a freak play for that to probably happen.
Philly
But-
does turn the ball over quite a bit, though.
Well, I'll say it like this though: if McDuffie does it, I'm not going to sit here and go, "Oh my God, what the hell?" No, it's
Another one.
it's business because McDuffie. What I love about him is he's not a corner that's getting a lot of picks because first of all, he doesn't get targeted very often. A lot of his plays, special plays he's made, has been on help D. So I think that this is him replacing the lack of interceptions. It's like, hey, look, I'm not picking the ball off a lot. In fact, I don't think he's had a pick yet, but he's getting the ball out of these guys' hands, and I think that's why people are excited about that. And I'm not banking on it to happen this week, but I would definitely love to see it happen.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, I want to see a pick, though. That's what I want. Our guy, John Harrison, on Facebook. Philly, this is just a point here. Philly's given up 31 in both wins against Washington, and Howell has been sacked 47 times, and they still scored. That was kind of like, that's why I always go back to that Sam Howell game because I watched both of those games. Obviously, I'm a Sam Howell fan, so whenever I'm not watching the Chiefs or whatever, if the red zone's on, I'm always kind of zoning in on Sam Howell just because I like the kid. That boy's balled both times against that Philly defense, and he is the most sacked quarterback in this league, and he has made a lot of mistakes in a lot of games too, but he still figured out a way to damn near beat Philly twice, and they did beat them last year. That was in Washington, but still, that's a team that gives them fits, obviously. But that is a sign, and I think watching the film of those games and how they went about it. Obviously, EB being the coordinator over there might give the Chiefs maybe some insight on what he did. Maybe if there's communication between those two parties, which I'm sure there still is. There's still some solid relationships between those two guys and those two parties. So maybe some insight on how to attack this Philly secondary and this Philly defense as a whole might be some nice back and forth conversation wise preparing for this game.
Yeah, I think more than anything though, it's going to, and all respect to Sam Howell, but he's also got a plethora of weapons, and that helps out a lot too. When you have the wide receivers that the Commanders have,
but he also has a terrible O line.
Yeah, that's true.
He is very mistake prone because he's under pressure consistently, and he still put up 30 plus both games.
But as I said, I think that Rashee Rice has that breakout game this week, mostly because of the fact that I really like the matchup, and I think that the Chiefs are going to – because you saw when Sky Moore started getting that criticism, they started throwing Sky Moore the ball a little bit.
Yeah.
People have been criticizing the fact that Rashee's been on the field a lot. It's like, well, throw him the damn ball.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get fed a lot in this game. Travis Kelce's going to have a big game because there's nobody on that defense that's going to stop Travis Kelce at all.
And what I remember from watching those games with Sammy Howell, he was getting the ball out quick.
Yeah.
There's a lot of quick screens and passes to the running backs, which is why I like Jet McKinnon this game because Philly's the middle of their defense is kind of slow.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot of speedster guys, and McKinnon is one of those guys. He makes one guy miss, he's going to make the next two guys miss because that's how incredible he is with the ball in his hands. Rashee Rice as well.
Yeah.
And Kadarius Toney as well, man. I would love to see get him involved over the middle too. That guy is so shifty. Use our shifty, speedy guys this week. That just seems like a way to kill this secondary in Philly. So, yeah. Next question from our guy John as well. Do you think Philly has learned from the corn dog? LOL.
Well, I'm sure they're going to make sure and defend it a little bit better because what the Eagles like to do.
Imagine we do that again.
Well, that'd be hilarious. But the Eagles, I like what they, their defense is one of those defenses that when a guy's in motion, they dump it off to the other guy in the secondary. I definitely think when the Chiefs are in the red zone this week and you see two wide on each side and one guy's in motion, they're not going to be doing that as much. I think the Eagles are definitely going to be paying more attention to that. So yes, they'll definitely learn from it, but they still have a scheme. They still have a style, and they stick with it. And more times than not, it does work for the Eagles because you see, like I said, they're 8-1, and it's working pretty damn well for them. But yeah, I definitely think that when you're in a matchup like this against a team that burns you not once but twice on the same damn play, you're gonna have to respect it. It's like when a guy starts knocking threes from way down, you have to start respecting it.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're going to definitely do in this matchup.
Like LeBron James last night, 5 of those. Next question is from our guy John Harrison again. I think it's less of a question, more of a statement. Blaming a coach for players' ability is as bad as praising a coach for a great talented player. Bill Walsh once said, "Great players make coaches look smart. A coach looks good when players make plays and bad when they don't. It's the player's execution that's important."
Couldn't agree more because that is where I look at this from. Like, okay, when you're the man, when you're the head coach, you get criticized differently because you are the overseer of everything. You are the general. You are the final say in everything that happens. You're the decision maker. But when you're an assistant and you have a room that is inept and inadequate, I don't think it's fair to automatically assume that the reason for that inadequacy is because of you. That's just not right. And Walsh was one of the greatest minds in the history of the NFL, so I'm going to tend to agree with him on this a little bit. I don't know if it's always true, but I think it's definitely true in this case because of the fact, like I said, this guy's a rookie, essentially a rookie wide receivers coach that has zero experience, and he's thrown into a room. Like if you had Tyreek Hill and you're seeing the development stall on Tyreek Hill, then we can start to look at this from an internal perspective and say, hey, is he getting the right coaching? Is this really, is Tyreek Hill getting a fair shot here? No, that's not what's happening. And if anything, how about we give some credit? Because we want to criticize Embry. How about we give him some credit for what Rashee Rice is doing? A guy that's also a rookie.
Oh, an outlier as far as rookie receivers goes in Andy Reid's offense, too. They don't tend to develop until year 2 or 3.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, which is why we also need to be praising the development, the quick development of Rashee Rice, and maybe be a little more patient with Sky Moore, right? Because, I mean, I know it's an issue with him right now, but also some guys pick up the offense slower. Rashee Rice, I think, is just that much more of a better athlete, in my opinion, and that's why he's thriving. He's got a little bit more size, a little more burst ability, and that's why, he can make up for maybe what he doesn't know in this offense and just with the extracurriculars and the intangibles. But we got a second half of the season to figure things out, man. Hopefully they do. Our guy Micah Hayes on YouTube. You're going to like this question, Lance. 𝚂𝙿 at 610 FM Sports had a cap expert yesterday and he said the Chiefs will probably let Snead, Bolton, MBS, and Trey Smith also walk in free agency. Thoughts?
I totally disagree.
I think that's what's the name from Spot Track.
I think it's Mike Ginnetti.
Yeah.
I totally disagree. I don't think that it's going to be all of those names. I definitely do believe that MVS is 100% gone because he's literally a non-factor on this team, and he's just sucking up cap space. But not all three of those other names will be gone. In fact, I will confidently say that Trey Smith will be on this team unless he's asking for like a Joe Thuney contract, which he's just not going to get from anybody. Unless he's asking for something like that that's just ridiculous. I very much believe Trey Smith will be a Chief for a long term. And if he's not, you better believe Nick Bolton will be. Because they're not going to let both those guys walk. Because you're talking about opening up the floodgates of having to find pieces on both sides of the ball. That's just not how Brett Veach operates. Because we'll sit here and talk about how he plays it cheap a lot of times. But all the other times, he goes out and spends money.
Especially in guys that have potential to be all-time players for this franchise.
Yeah.
Nick Bolton has the potential to be the all-time tackle leader.
And him and Trey Smith would be, 25 years old at that point? Like, I'm going to believe that one of those guys is getting retained. I think it's going to be Trey Smith. I know you're more on the Nick Bolton side.
Yeah.
I'm honestly okay because I think Brett Veach can – you guys, if you don't know my mentality or my cardinal rule
I'll be happy either way, honestly.
My cardinal rule here is always this. When it comes to a player that we debate whether the Chiefs should pay or not, I always ask this one question. Do I believe this guy is better at his job than Brett Veach is? If I believe that guy's better at his job than Brett Veach is at being able to draft and replace or go and sign a guy to replace him, then you need to pay that guy. Do I believe that Brett Veach is better than this guy or not? Then I think you should let him walk. If I think Brett Veach is better at his job. I think that Brett Veach is better at his job than Nick Bolton. I think he's probably a little bit better at his job than Trey Smith is, but I think it's a little bit closer because, again, Trey Smith walked into this day one in a position of absolute need after getting embarrassed in the Super Bowl as a 6th-round pick and never looked back and has missed 0 time. He's missed 0. What is the best ability, Trevor? Availability.
Especially with the injury he had in his past in college collegiate days.
He's always been there. Every single freaking week, this dude plays games. Yeah. And I think that's the difference between him and Nick Bolton, unfortunately. I love Nick Bolton, but now he's missing substantial amount of time.
Well, and how good this defense has been in his absence.
Exactly. And you see that the fact this defense is holding opponents under about 18 points a game, and their third down conversion percentage actually goes down a percentage since Tranquil's been taken over. So I'm not saying Tranquil's the better player. I think Nick Bolton is, but I definitely disagree with Mike Ginnetti on that there's going to be all those names are going to be gone. I definitely think that Trey Smith and or Nick Bolton will be back on this team.
Well, and I don't think it makes sense to let all of them walk either. We don't need to save that much money unless we're trying to make some big move somewhere else for another player at similar positions. Unless we're trying to go get another guard, right guard or whatever. But at this point, I see one or two of those guys still sticking around. Snead's probably gone. I just don't think you pay corners in this league, and Veach has kind of shown that he has a great eye for that talent at that position. Jamari Conner might be on his way too. I'm a believer in that kid, so I think Snead seems likely gone as great as he's been this year. I think we've discussed on the show already. But I mean, I think a lot of the Bolton situation too. I mean, do we find a way to keep Tranquil here longer, or do we find a way maybe cheaper than what Bolton would be? Obviously, I think he would be cheaper than what Bolton is.
I'll be honest with you. I think if Tranquil keeps playing the way he's playing, he's going to get out.
He's probably going to get priced, yeah, for sure.
The Lions or somebody like that who has some cap space next year.
Yeah,
they'll offer him like a 3-year, $35 million deal.
I'll say this too, like on a personal level, I remember when Tranquil first came over here, he expected to be extended over there in L.A.
Yeah,
and him and his wife. I remember watching an interview with them. They were absolutely like surprised by the fact that they didn't extend them and keep them there because they wanted to plant their roots. They seem like a type of this is diving deep. They seem like a family that's probably wanting to plant their roots somewhere. Yeah. And Kansas City is like one of those like places where people get here and they're like, man, it's a good home, because it is. The Midwest is great.
Yep.
So
wouldn't want to live anywhere
it could
else.
be a situation where, if they make a decision between Bolton and Tranquil wants to stay here, maybe take a slightly team-friendly deal than what other teams are offering, we could see Tranquil here, for longer than we expected. Maybe another 2-3 year deal or something like that. The first couple of years guaranteed. Who knows?
I'm sure planting roots is important, but you know what else is important is going to the bank. And I think I'm just being real. Like Tranquil seems like the salt. Just a little side story.
Yeah.
One of the guys I know that's in the medical field actually sat with Tranquil's family a couple games ago. It was actually against the Chargers, and they were talking about that situation. I won't go into he told me some of the stuff in confidence.
Gotcha.
But what I heard was Tranquil is just literally the salt of the earth kind of guy.
Just a real one.
Super charitable dude.
Yeah.
He's just a real guy, and that they love Kansas City. Guys, I do believe if the Chiefs could keep Tranquil, they would keep Tranquil. But he's playing such good football, and he's only 28 years old. We know the rules here are a little bit different in Kansas City, where they don't pay a lot of guys after age 28, but other teams will. And there are going to be plenty of teams out there with cap space. Hell, the Bengals are going to be looking for some help on the defensive side. I think they're going to have over $64 million in cap space next year. That might be a team that you see Drew Tranquil move to, and that's the Midwest. That's a team that they could really plant their roots in, and that's a contender. He goes to the Bengals next year. He's on the Bengals all of a sudden. That could change things. I know that you guys don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. But it's going to take something really special for the Chiefs to work out a deal with Tranquil, because I think he's going to get a nice, lucrative deal in his next contract. I was surprised he didn't get one this offseason. I was very surprised. Not even just by the Chargers.
That's what I'm saying.
But just by anybody.
His versatility is rare in this league.
The fact that Chiefs got him for $5 million is bewildering.
Well, and it's showing. I mean, he's been very vital for this defense. In the untimely absence of Nick Bolton, he's shown up. So appreciate the question, Micah. Next question by Micah as well. Micah Hayes on YouTube. Do you guys watch the All-22 film? If so, why are we getting so many 1 to 2 yard gains on run plays?
Play calling.
Yeah.
It is simply play calling. You have to understand that these
execution.
Look at the defense. Like, you have to understand, guys, that as smart of an offensive mind as Andy Reid is, there are defensive-minded coaches out there that know what's coming.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to mix it up. Like, a lot of times, guys, the Chiefs' offense gets really predictable.
Yeah.
We seen the Bills and how figured out they were against the Broncos.
Yep.
Is that any coincidence?
It's similar to what we're dealing with, yeah.
Patrick was literally calling out plays on the Broncos side. He's just an observer. You watch film for an entire week to game plan for a team, you know that you're going to know what's coming. And so I think Andy Reid has just kind of gotten stuck in his ways a little bit and calling the same plays he's been calling for the last 4 or 5 years. I think that's what you're seeing. And All-22 does show that there are opportunities that are missed on a consistent basis. So it comes down from coaching, and it comes down, like Trevor said, execution as well. Because there are, to Andy's defense, there are a lot of plays he draws up like, damn, that should have worked. And it didn't. It's because of execution as well. So it's a team aspect. Like we talk about how the Chiefs are winning games as a team. Yeah, they're also leaving a lot of meat on the bone as a team as well. They got to fix some of this stuff, man.
Yeah, agreed. James T. Kirk. Lance, what is the deal with Ryan Fitzpatrick? The man is still bashing the Chiefs' Super Bowl win over the Eagles. Slippery field excuse, and the Eagles are winning in a blowout?
I made my peace with what Ryan Fitzpatrick is doing, and it really sucks because I remember the legacy that he had as a non-Chiefs player, but yet people wanted to like put him in the Ring of Honor legitimately because of him beating the Patriots in Week 17 in the 2019 season, giving the Chiefs the 2 seed.
Incredible.
That was awesome. But since then, yeah, Ryan's really he's confused me with some of these takes, and I've made peace with the fact that he's now becoming one of those talking heads, and he's a very smart guy, so he knows what he's doing. He's getting people to react to him, and that's what's putting the Amazon Prime post and pregame show on the map is saying stupid shit. That's the way of our world now. Is say stupid shit, get people to react to you. And that's what he's doing. Because there's no way that a guy as smart as Ryan Fitzpatrick could believe something that stupid, and also saying that the Chiefs are going to lose 3 or 4 games. Also, and this is where my problem really stems off, and not to veer off from your question here, but when I heard him say on the Thursday night pregame that the Chiefs need to get embarrassed in order for them to wake up, and then to hear Andrew Whitworth, a longtime left tackle in this league, say that he agreed with that because that's what the Rams had to do, and then they ended up winning the Super Bowl. No offense to Andrew Whitworth and his one great season of winning a Super Bowl. I'm happy for him. Dude was an awesome left tackle for a long time, and I actually love Andrew Whitworth. I have a lot of respect for the guy. I think he's like a Drew Tranquil type of dude. But I had to call him out this week on Twitter. I was like, because Fitz is a coward. He doesn't have Twitter, but Andrew does. So I mentioned, whenever I talk about people, I'll at you. And I added Andrew Whitworth, and I asked him, I was like, dude, honest question. Do you watch these games? Because if you actually watch these games, you would know that losing to the Broncos for the first time in damn near a decade is embarrassing enough. And not just losing, but losing by 15 damn points. That's the first time in over 40 games the Chiefs have lost a game by more than 4 points. That's an NFL record. You don't think that's embarrassing? They don't need to lose 3 games to figure out who they are. And you can self-reflect all you damn want. This team has things and issues they can't really fix now. I told you guys before the trade deadline, they can fix them. They didn't. So now they got to overcome them.
My favorite thing about that whole sequence when he was saying that, when Ryan was saying that the Chiefs need to get blown out to help the team, was Tony Gonzalez's face when he was saying it. Tony was like in disbelief, like he's like, I've had some shitty takes on this booth here, but my God, that one takes the cake. His facial reaction was hilarious.
Well, I'm saving that clip of Ryan saying it because I was the one that initially posted it on Twitter, and everyone took it and ran with it, which is totally cool. That's the point of it. When he said that the Chiefs are going to lose 3 or 4 because this is the week where that 4th game would happen. Can't wait to do that, but Ryan doesn't have a Twitter because, like I said, coward. So I guess I'll have to tweet at Andrew again, unfortunately. But yeah, that's a big man, so I might want to be careful with that. But it's frustrating to hear takes like that. But James, I got to be honest with you, brother. The reason why those takes are out there like that is to get people like us talking about them, and then saying, "Hey, I wonder what Fitz is going to say this Thursday." Let's see if he says anything about the Chiefs, and then we tune in, and then they get ratings, and then he gets an extension, he gets a raise, and then that's how the business goes.
It's the Skip Bayless formula.
Exactly. We're literally describing how Skip Bayless became who he is, how he became the multimillionaire that he is. Say stupid shit, get us to react, bam, millionaire.
Idiocracy. So I'm going to end with Brian's last comment here. It falls right in line with what we were just talking about with the receivers and lack of talent. Does the rumored attempt at Hollywood Brown indicate Veach agrees we have a need?
Yes.
This is obviously pre-deadline.
You could take the name off of there and saying Chiefs are rumored, and that tells you it. You don't hear about the Chiefs being in rumors of adding pieces that they have no reason to be in flux or in a mix with.
Right. I mean, we even got McCole. I mean, that should tell you there, too.
Brett's not an idiot. Yeah. Look, we can criticize some of these decisions or lack of decisions he makes, but he's not an idiot. That man's been trusted by maybe the greatest head coach we've ever seen. There's a reason for that. This man's worked his way up. I trust Brett Veach. I don't agree with everything, but like we've talked about, Trevor, in family scenarios. Dude, you and I disagree on a lot of shit.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trust anybody more with my life than you. You know what I mean? Like, there's no question about that. So I trust Brett Veach is going to continue to build a Super Bowl winning caliber team. But he's gone about it wrong at wide receiver, and the fact he's doing stuff like this or rumors are coming out there like that, which, by the way, the Chiefs are one of the most protected franchises out there. Shit like that doesn't leak unless they want it to leak.
Right.
For that to be out there tells me that they know they didn't do the right thing. And like you just said, bringing McCole back 6 months after you let him walk tells me that exact same thing as well. They know they did. So like I just said about Andrew Whitworth and Ryan Fitzpatrick saying that they need to self-reflect and understand who they are. No, this team knows who they are. This team's been contending for Super Bowls for 6 seasons. They don't need a 3-game losing streak to know who they are. They commented about the Patriots when they lost 3 straight games and how they had to figure things out. Guys, that Patriots team was a Super Bowl winning team regardless of that 3-game losing streak or not.
Yeah.
That 3-game losing streak didn't define them. It pissed them off. That's good. That means they have the heart of a champion. But the Chiefs don't need to lose to the Broncos to be a Super Bowl caliber team. They don't need to get blown out by the Eagles to be a Super Bowl caliber team. They just need to play their damn game. And now it's going to be that much harder, like we've been talking about all damn season. It's going to be that much harder because they don't have enough at wide receiver to help Patrick Mahomes and help Travis Kelce. It's going to have to be them and the combination of a big game here and there from Jet McKinnon and Rashee Rice, Noah Gray, and other pieces. That's why this team's where they're at. It's going to be that much harder, but it's Brett Veach's fault. Just like it's Brett Veach's credit that the Chiefs have the number one defense in the league. It's catch-22 here, man. It's give and take. No one's perfect. We got to be able to criticize as quickly as we praise and vice versa. And Brett Veach has had a very bittersweet offseason, man. Dude, the dude drafted his ass off at defense over these last couple of years and has whiffed dramatically at wide receiver. That's how it is. That's what it is. That's what it is, guys. Chiefs have to overcome it.
Well, maybe Kadarius Toney could be that star that we all hoped he would be in the second half of the season.
They got to make sense of that trade, man.
We'll see, man. I'm crossing my fingers because that's my guy. All right. Well, that is it for the chat, man. You guys have been awesome today. A lot of gasoline being poured on some fires in this chat today, and I love it.
Absolutely love it. You guys are freaking great, man. This has probably been our best day in the chat. I would say so. I'm seeing hundreds of comments today, man. That's saying something. That's a lot of thanks to our guys at All Chiefed Up ACU. The ACU crew showed up today in our chat. Hopefully you guys are part of the Spoken crew now as well. Because like I said, it's a community. It's a family. We do not look at ACU as competition because quite frankly, they're lapping us when it comes to subs.
Yeah.
But we don't, even if we had 100 million subscribers on YouTube and they had 101, we don't look at them as competition. They're brothers, they're family, they're friends. That's how we're going to keep it. That's how we're going to continue to keep it. And hopefully we continue to keep you in the subscriptions as well, in the chats as well. So if you guys have not already done it, like I said, at the top and bottom of every single show, hit us up on YouTube, Spoken Podcast, subscribe, notify, and chime in, guys, because we want to hear from you. We want you to be a part of all this because that is why we do this from the beginning. Trevor, we have one more order of business to get to. What is it called? Hold this L. Each and every episode, we finish off each and every episode with a series of L's in the world of sports. Whether those L's are friendly or not so friendly L's in the world of sports, we promise you, who is ever holding those L's in the world of sports, deserve those L's in the world of sports. Trevor Twidwell, who's holding the L for you this week?
All right, man. So listen, the Joe Burrow injury happened. He's had numerous been banged up in numerous different occasions on different parts of his body this season. It was kind of a lost season for Joe. That's unfortunate. I'm actually a fan of his competitiveness. I like him as a potential rival to Patrick Mahomes. It hasn't really developed all the way yet, obviously due to this season falling apart for them. And this is in no way kicking a man when he's down, and this is not even aimed towards Joe Burrow because I do not celebrate injuries in any way. So let me just make that as my disclaimer here first up front and get that out of the way. But there's been a lot of vitriol every single season, it seems like. And I know when you're at the top of the mountain, you're gonna catch all the arrows, right? Everyone's aiming up at you, shooting up, punching up at you. And we saw last year, in years past, other teams try to, celebrate any kind of slight they have towards the Chiefs in any way we slip up in any way. The Raiders, when they won that game and they decided to have that whole bus trip around our stadium. Since then, they lost their head coach and another head coach and their quarterback, numerous other players, yet to have a winning season. So good for them. They had their moment. The Bengals just last year, the Burrowhead propaganda that took place. What's happened since then? They've yet to beat the Chiefs. They lost to us in the AFC Championship game, and they haven't sniffed a winning record since then. And no offense to the team and their fans, but their mayor, all the fans, the vitriol that the fans were giving all of us as Chiefs Kingdom, and there was a lot of nastiness coming from Chiefs Kingdom as well. It was a bitter feud there for a minute. Might still be a little bit. The Pat Who comments from their star receiver and one of my favorite players in the NFL, Jamar Chase, who's an absolute freak and stud and just fun to watch. That comment after a ring ceremony from winning the ring that y'all couldn't get to even have a chance to win, calling Pat Who and telling us, how much he thinks Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the league. Well, y'all have a lost season this year. I'm not one that believes in karma truly, but I do believe in karmic debt sometimes. When you start piling up things that you shouldn't say or start piling up things, doing things you shouldn't do, I believe sometimes certain things come back to bite you in the ass.
Yep.
And we've seen numerous teams try to do this to the Chiefs, talk shit. Numerous talking heads on TV try to crown this team, this QB, that QB, and it's fallen flat every single time they've done it. And this Bills team, this Bengals team are not exempt this year. You're seeing two of these teams, one for sure in the Bengals going to miss the playoffs, and their quarterback is down for the year. This is not aimed at Joe Burrow in any way. I respect the shit out of that guy, and I wish he was not hurt. Really, really do. Because I would love to compete against that guy when we play them this year, but it's unfortunately not going to happen. But with the Bills, all those things, we'll be back and blah, blah, blah in the 13-second game, and, Stephon Diggs, standing there watching us celebrate, talking about he'll be back and they'll get us and blah, blah, blah. All these things continue to fall flat, man.
Yep.
And with the Bengals being the latest one this season, with their team falling apart, and in all due respect to their coach and their quarterback, but there was a lot of players, a lot of nastiness coming from those, especially on the defensive side, towards the Chiefs this past season. Obviously, we got our justice by knocking them out and going and winning a Super Bowl with Patrick on one leg. But I just wanted to kind of with the latest edition of this being the Burrowhead incident and all the trash that was being talked by the Bengals, and now here they are going to miss the playoffs, and now they are down, their golden boy, their quarterback, which is very unfortunate. But sometimes, man, certain things come back to bite you in the ass. And now that shit talk has ceased. And here the Chiefs are sitting atop of the AFC once again, looking to host the AFC Championship once again if things go the way we expect them to go the rest of the way in the season. So maybe this is just a warning shot to a lot of people moving forward that want to keep coming at the king. You better not miss, right? So maybe this is a thing, man, where you might want to be careful what you say about the Chiefs. You may want to be careful about all the dethroning of the Chiefs and who's going to be the next team, in the AFC, because every time that's happened, every time someone's tried to claim or anoint someone, it continues to fall apart. And honestly, I don't believe in curses. I don't believe in karma like that. But this is about as close to a curse as you can get, man. Yep. You know what I mean? Because the Bengals, they talked that shit, and they did beat us in the AFC Championship that year, but they didn't finish the job. And we've continued to finish our job on our end and get revenge when we needed to get revenge on them last year, and we finished the job. We show them how it was done.
Yep.
So for the Bills Mafia, all the fans that were talking all that junk, and they continue, and their team looked like it's going in the wrong direction. Their quarterback's going in the wrong direction right now. They're continuing to fire OCs when they really know they need to fire their head coach. In the Bengals, the things that are happening to them right now, unfortunately, the quarterback situation is a separate issue. I'm not just talking about that, but them as a team have just not been right since the Burrowhead comment and all these things. So for the teams and the fan bases that continue to talk shit on the Chiefs and all the talking heads that continue to look for reasons and ways to dethrone what the inevitable is, do me a solid favor and hold this L.
Trevor and I are big on integrity here at this show. Take integrity, just overall integrity. We don't like dishonesty, especially when it comes to people in the media. That was at the forefront of sports media this week. The lack of integrity, the lack of honesty from a decently sized figure, I would say, in the media. And it's something that needs to be addressed, and I have I would say, a unique take on this, and I'm going to have someone speak it for me in a second, but at the top of it, in case you did not hear about it, and it was awkward because it was right before Thursday Night Football, where this person also works as a host on the pre- and post-game show, Carissa Thompson had a show with Pardon My Take from the Barstool Sports side of things. And maybe she just felt like she could let her hair down literally and figuratively in this situation because of the people she was talking to or whatever. But she reflected on her long career that she's had well over 15 years now. And she did start as a sideline reporter. And I'm not going to take any more away from her. I'm not going to steal her thunder. This is her talking about some of those instances back in those days of getting getting some news to break during the broadcast.
For saying it, but I'll say it again. I would make up the report sometimes because the coach wouldn't come out at halftime, or it was too late, and I was like, I didn't want to screw up the report, so I was like, I'm just going to make this up because, first of all, no coach is going to get mad if I say, hey, we need to stop hurting ourselves. We need to be better on third down. We need to stop turning the ball
Pressure
over.
the quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. And do a better job of getting off the field. Like, they're not going to correct me on that.
Right.
So I'm like, it's fine. I'll just make up the report.
It would be very funny if you were like, yeah, so I just spoke with Arthur Smith at halftime, and he said Bijan Robinson blew smoke in his face. And that's why he's not getting the...
I haven't been fired for saying it, but I'll say it.
So that obviously set ablaze to a lot of people, to where Tracy Wolfson, Lisa Salters, a lot of other women in particular at that position that are still very much there and prominent figures at that position. I don't know if Erin Andrews actually said anything or not, but I know those two women and several others have come out immediately and totally destroyed Carissa Thompson on this particular topic about how they don't make stuff up. Now, that could be them grandstanding. That could be them taking this time to virtue signal and make it sound like they're better than... I would never do something like that, even if they really never have. It's just an opportunity for them to make themselves look better so they don't get raised in question as well. Regardless, this is a terrible look, because Carissa Thompson now has one of the most prominent jobs in the field, where she's a host now on Thursday Night Football, which is a standalone game. And we're relying on integrity from her and the people that she works with to give us honest opinions and viewpoints of what's going on. Now, personally, and I'll get to my overall opinion, I wasn't as focused on that part of it, but Carissa decided to go on her Instagram, and I'm going to try to find that story that she actually posted about it, because she wanted to respond to what she said in regards to that interview that she had with the guys. So let me see here. She goes, I've said this before. Oh, that's the comment she said about getting fired. In her Instagram post on Friday, this is a day after this all went ablaze, she said, working in the media, I understand how important words are, and I chose the wrong words to describe the situation. I'm sorry. I have never lied about anything or been unethical during my time as a sports broadcaster. She also added that if a coach did not provide any info, Thompson would use information she gathered and saw during the first half to create her report. Quote, for example, if the team was 0 for 7 on third down, that would clearly be an area they needed to improve on the second half. In these instances, I never attributed anything I said to a player or a coach.
So she didn't lie. She was just dishonest.
So you say in the initial video that you were clearly comfortable with, because you didn't think that you were going to get any backlash for, that you said it yourself. You made it up. You used the words. Then you said, well, I used the wrong words. What I would just do is take assumptions and then put that out there. Carissa, that's called making it up. That's the definition of making something up. You're making an assumption on what a coach would tell you. That's lying. I hope you understand that. That's called dishonesty. That's why people are upset with you, because that job is really hard to get, especially for women, if we're being honest. This is still a man's world, guys, if we're going to be real here. And it's hard to crack into those gigs. You got to work really hard, regardless of your gender. But we know that history has shown that more times than not, it took women a long time to get some of these jobs in the sports world. So I can understand why some of these other women are a little pissed at you, because you make them look like they're just there for being a pretty face. Some might be. Them, not so much, because some of these women work their asses off to do what they do. And I understand the relevance of some of these gigs when it comes to reporting, like with the whole Joe Burrow situation. You want to make sure you're getting that news and the breaking story, and you want to be in the middle of it, and you want to know what's going on as a viewer. I totally get it. I'm the same fucking way. I would want to know what's going on, and the sideline reporter has some relevance in that regard. But see, that's where it ends, because I'm going to be real with you guys, and I've told Trevor this, and I've said it many times on this show before. I don't really care about the sideline report. In fact, I think it's really dumb that we have sideline reporters stopping coaches before and after the half to talk about what's going on. And I'm not going to say any more about it. What I'm going to do is let my guy Bill Burr say it for me. This is him on Conan a few years ago.
I don't like how they interview the coaches too when they go to the in the halftime. Yeah, as they're running up. Like, I think they should just be able to stay focused on the game. They shouldn't have to talk to somebody like a Ski Parker. They're like, yeah, you're down by 14. What are your thoughts? It's like, what do you think my thoughts are? It sucks. I'm worried about my job. I'll probably have to sell my house. My wife's gonna leave me. I need to score more points in the other half. Who are to you? Why am I talking to you? You're not even in football. Yeah. Did you even play to the high school level? No, probably not. You took journalism. Yeah. Get out of here. What about... Yeah, it's a bunch of nerds interrupting people who know what they're doing.
So obviously Bill Burr is a comedic genius, and he's saying a lot of things tongue-in-cheek, but I actually believe that. I understand that, yes, you want to get the updates for injuries and things like that to key players, but let's be real here. Those guys, the guys up in the booth, can easily get that handed down to them through many other channels. So if that's the only real relevance to that job, then that job itself doesn't really have a lot of relevance. I think a lot of times it's just for show fodder. I think it's for an opportunity to kind of distract yourself from a game if, in fact, something's being, a game's being blown out or, it's not an interesting game. You have a little bit of extra to chew on. The point is, though, is that now Charissa Thompson has put this job in question completely because now everybody's going to wonder if these people are telling the truth. Male, female, doesn't matter. You're now going to be questioned because she has been one of the most prominent people at that job, had it for a very long time, and has grown in the industry since. Now they're going to start to speculate on this, and I don't know, and in what world, when she posted that on Instagram, did she think that anybody was going to read that and go, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you totally didn't just go against everything you just said in that podcast a couple of days beforehand. You're clearly trying to salvage things. Charissa, you took a major L on this one, and you're going to take another one today on the Spoken Podcast. So, Charissa Thompson, do me a solid and hold this L. God,
Yeah,
that was bad, man.
That was a fun one to witness.
You know what else is fun to witness? What we just did today. This has been a long show,
2
but it's
hours
been
and
a
40
fun,
minutes.
absolute fun show because Mike Williams from All Chiefed Up stepped up, did his thing, spoke some knowledge. You guys joined in on the chat and the Speak It. Could not thank you guys enough. Trev, you had some great takes. Lance had some amazing takes. That guy's awesome. But you know what? I think overall this was a very successful show. I feel really good about this Chiefs-Eagles game. If you guys want to keep talking about it, you don't have to stop when we stop the show. You guys keep chiming in on the comments. Keep chiming in the chat. Join us on Facebook at The Spoken. Join us on Twitter at The Spoken Pod. The party keeps going, baby. It never stops. It's 24/7 operation around here. We just happen to do a show once a week. So if you guys want to keep chiming in, join us. Hit us up on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere you guys can find us. We appreciate all you guys so much. We look forward to doing this every single week. But in the meantime, we got to take a little bit of a break because we got some football to watch and review and talk about. Join us after the game on Monday night, guys. We will be joined by Vaughn Booker on Chatting Up the Chiefs post-game show. We will give you guys our immediate reactions of what we see in that game. I hope you guys are ready to get in those chats as well. We will be posting that here on our YouTube channel. So stay ready, stay geared up, stay equipped, and stay ready to go because it's going to be a fun time as well, guys, because I truly do believe the Chiefs are going to be winning this game against the Philadelphia Eagles. But in the meantime, for Trevor Twidwell, for the great Clay Window that puts all this together on the back end from Red Tribe Cinema, I am Lance Twiddle. The Spoken Podcast, episode 243 is done, finished and finito. And until we're back here in 1 week's time to talk about the Chiefs moving forward as the best team in the AFC and the NFL, we out of this bitch.
Later.